Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome. Welcome to the special live event with me and Pat Mahan, who I assume we'll be finding here shortly. We'll get him added in here and we'll take your questions. All right. All right. Welcome. Good to see everybody. We'll give everybody a few minutes to get in here. Get started. Give Pat a chance to get started. Let me go see if I can find him. There he is. Invite. I invited him. Oh, there he is. Wow, look at that. Super quick and easy, just like that. Oh, except I got to turn up my volume so I can hear you. I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How about now?
Oh, there we go. Now I got you. You got all that fancy equipment. All I got is my...
Yeah, it's tough to keep track of.
Which 32 buttons are we supposed to push over here? Which 32 button combination makes it work?
What's up, my friend?
It's a beautiful day. I am in Middle Tennessee, and it is just absolutely the most perfectly gorgeous spring day. I'm sitting here by the window. Oh, just loving life, man. The sun is shining. The birds are singing. The wife is outside planting plants, so we don't have to worry about her bothering us.
That is good. That's good.
How about you?
Man. I'm excellent. I just got back from Florida, which was a nice little trip with my girlfriend's family to kind of, her sister just bought a house, like a new house, so we went in to kind of, welcome her into that house, and it was really, really nice. Got to get away for a little bit where it wasn't 30 degrees in New York, so that was a beautiful thing. But now I'm back and I'm here. I'm ready to.
Okay.
So what's been new with you? Finally here.
Finally here, like this close to getting my website up. Finally. Okay. Being able to schedule coaching for some folks. Hey, everybody coming in. Come on in. Keep coming. I don't know that Pat has ever gone live before. Is this your first live?
Oh, yeah.
First time? Sure.
Yeah.
Pat's first live. Thank you, everybody, for all of the love and support that you showed him and in turn showed me because you trusted my recommendation. I appreciate that so much. So if you look in the upper right corner there, you'll see like something that looks like a power switch, and right next to that, a little person and a number, and that's the number of people on your side that are joining your live. I've got 16 over here so far. Also, you'll see your comments. Your comments you can see, my comments I can see, but I can't see yours, you can't see mine. Okay, just so you know. So if you get a question over there, a comment or something, I don't get to see that.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Everybody's piling in on my side, just saying, hey. Hello. Welcome. It usually takes a few minutes for, people to get in here and things to get going. I do now have on my side down at the bottom, there's a little button that says interact, and there's a question and answer there. And I've already got, those are suggested questions. Okay. I've already got a couple of questions over here on my side.
Yeah, take them away.
Janet Rogers wanted to hear some more on overcoming fear. So that might be a good place to start. That's a common question. I've got another question here. Everybody try to use the Q&A down at the bottom because that'll kind of keep things organized and help me to be able to go through and ask these questions in order. If you put it in the comments, it's going to go by and we may miss it. But if you put it down in the Q&A, we'll be able to find it.
So there's a separate button that they can push that will allow them to ask a question versus like just comment a thought or an idea.
Correct. Yeah, they can put in comments, and that's what's scrolling by. And then
Yeah,
down at the bottom in the middle, I have a button. Not everybody has it, I guess. It
yeah. If I
says
don't have it, yeah,
interact, or you may have one that just says Q&A, and they can
yeah.
go down there. And it's not available in every country, unfortunately.
Ah,
Not every place, so not everybody has that. So,
interesting. Very
um,
interesting.
so, couple of real quick ones here. There's one that says, "Have you heard of reality shifting? Tell me what you
Oh
think
yeah.
about it."
Well, I mean, I compare the idea of reality shifting to reality transurfing. So if you, I mean, there's anything that we're going to talk about today is essentially just going to be a label, and there's going to be multiple people from versions of our reality and humanity that have used different labels to describe the same thing that we're going to talk about. So it gets really deep down the rabbit hole, but there's a book called Reality Transurfing by Dean Zealand where he discusses this exact thing, where you have an inner intention, and we're probably going to talk about it because it's relevant to almost everything, um, as far as a human being walking through and creating a life. So you have an inner intention, and then you have an outer intention. It's described in the book, but it's also described in multiple different cultures across the platform that your inner intention would be that is given to you from maybe your higher guidance system, your higher consciousness. Once you move the fear-based mind out of the way, you can kind of like climb your consciousness ladder to the higher frequencies of consciousness, where I would say where I'm sure of like less fear exists, less resistance, less of the mind story, and then from that higher place you get access to what you would imagine your maybe your path is supposed to be based on things that you've called or set intentions of. So the first part is to realize your own inner intentions, which a lot of people can do. A lot of people in the creation, deliberate life manifestation and creation game, they can get to the point where they can raise their frequency enough in the world by moving the mind out of the way enough to connect with an inner guidance system. And a lot of the times we think that's it. We think that's all there is. Why can't I do more? And it require if we're talking about love and fear and doubt and love and trust and doubt and fear, if you get to the point where you trust yourself enough to allow this guidance system to come in, we forget that there's another part of the process to shift a reality, and that would be trusting that you're working with something beyond the ego's ability to take control of the fact that I did it. The ego wants to jump in and say, like, I did it. I have conquered consciousness, but that's just your mind giving you a BS story. So after you connect with yourself, there's another part where you have to trust the game enough to believe that there's something else working with you called outer intention, which is also you in the mirror game. And if you believe enough in this guidance that you've had for yourself to the point where you can specifically identify the essence of what you want, like you know what it is. You've gone to the restaurant, you've got the menu, and you're like, I want these things. Not just genuinely in this abstract way thinking like, I kind of want something other than what I have. If you get specific on what you want, then the next part is trusting that you're working with something in this reality that can shift you to it. So what I believe as far as how possible a reality, I mean, it's not how possible, it's how quickly most people want to hear. How quickly am I able to shift my reality? That's the question most people are really asking when they're like, what do you think about reality shifting or reality transurfing? Most of the time they're not asking if it's possible, and because we shift our realities all the time.
Well,
We
and
make
I think too they're looking for an easy out,
Well,
It's
that's the
like
exact point. Yes,
I
they're
don't want to do the work. I just want to flip a switch and live a different life. I don't want
right.
to because our world is literally our perception of our world, and so
Yeah,
if we do the work, we overcome, we transform from within, then our perception of the world changes, and quite literally our reality has changed because our
right.
reality is just our perception of our reality. And so those people that go to like these, personal development seminars over the weekend and have this dramatic epiphany in the middle of that weekend, yes, they experience a reality shift.
Yeah, right.
But the rest of us are out here, and some of those things take some time and some effort and some repeated effort to get past. And it doesn't happen just like that.
Right. The ego wants it to, but it just that's an excellent point. If you're as you're talking about, the question is, and if you're asking a question like that, I'm imagining you are ready to or want to go as far down the rabbit hole as you need to actually make that make sense. The question is, who is asking for the reality to shift? That's the question. Who is asking for the reality to shift,
Mm.
because this is going to matter as far as whether someone can or not, because we can all read a great book, watch some great content. We can, watch Recalculators TikToks and be like, I'm so excited to go do this, and I'm so excited. And then all of a sudden, what happens? We go from this what happened in that moment is you let go of the resistance you had to your story, and you allowed in a greater potential for change from a higher frequency of consciousness. That's what happened. You let go of some resistance, and you got excited you watched Mark's video, and you're like, oh my God, I can do this. I think this is real. And then all of a sudden what happens? We're buzzing for a while. But there's something else that pulls us back down after that initial blast of inspiration comes in, and that's what we'll call your baseline fear-based belief system. And your baseline fear-based belief system is based on an egoic construction of who you believe you are and nothing more. So who you believe you are contains the ability for you to unconsciously dictate whether or not you will change your reality or not, or that's from inner intention, or whether you allow the outer intention to work with you to create what you would call miracles or synchronicities or amazing, events that kind of help guide you in the direction. So you're either being led by an egoic construct of fear, or you're letting that go and allowing a new thing to come in. So it's the belief system about who you believe you are and what you believe is possible that dictates how quickly you'll shift your reality or not. It's not when, it's if and how long. So if you have a tremendous belief system built up that you're worthless and good things don't happen to you and it only happens to other people, and then you judge those other people for having good things happen all the time while you're just sitting here like this because you want to shift your reality, that's resistance to the reality you want to shift to. Because the thing that you are saying you want to be, which is representative of the reality you want to shift to, contains everything that you're judging in the world. So it is you. You can't judge. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but you can't judge the thing you're saying you want to achieve and then be angry that you're not it. It's you have to.
Right.
When Mark and I are talking about alignment, we're talking about being able to imagine and envision the concept or idea or the essence of what you want to be, have, or do. And then when you think about that thing, you feel good, even though you don't have it. You don't have it yet, and you feel amazing because you're so sure that you're aligned with it in here. And then you're also, the next step of this reality shifting is you're so sure that there's something working behind the scenes to bring it to you. That's alignment. But what people do is they talk about the lack of the thing that they want to have. They focus on the lack of the thing that they want to have and expect that the universe knows the difference and says like, oh, this person's really pissed off about this. They keep complaining incessantly about all this shit they don't have. We should probably give them what they want. Like, that's just, unfortunately, in my experience, it's not a thing that happens. So that's what I understand and how I've used the idea of reality shifting. And anytime I want something to shift really, really, really bad, it wouldn't, because I'm telling the universe that I really, really, really don't have it. And that's not a match.
Yeah. The more you focus on not having it, the more that energy creates not having it.
Not having
But
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
the whole thing with the shift, though, is that underlying your core belief system, your core value system, that whole makeup, that everything you learned who to be from ages 0 to 5, like, what is it, some like 75% of it or something of who we learn to be is by age 5.
Your
All that's
formative years,
pretty
yeah.
pretty deep in there. And so as like you said, you see a video and you're like, "Wow, I saw a video," but that's not really going to dig in there and change that underlying belief about who you are or what you're doing. So you're going to come down from that, and it's going to take repeated effort on that particular belief to overwrite that thing that's in there before you really get to a place where you've actually shifted and replaced that core belief with a new core belief.
Right. 100%. 100%. And there's something to that point. There's something called, and it's basically what I focus on with what I do is something called shadow work, which is there's so many people that come and asking questions about how do I create this? How do I do this? And then I always will go back to that one question, which is, who is asking for it? So what you'll find is a lot of the times that people are trying to manifest something, it's to get out of the energetic hole that they've created unconsciously, right? So the belief systems unconsciously play the patterning game in your life, and we're unconscious as to why we're making this choice. You're making it from conditioning. So it's either going to be you're either going to be led on a path that is meant for you based on what you believe you want to have, be, or do in your heart, or you're going to be led by conditioning, which is what you're referencing your formative years where you're just kind of watching people and they're projecting things onto you and it's shaping the idea of your persona. Like that's an unconscious event. We're not self-aware of being self-aware of this process yet. So if you were denied love through abandonment when you were younger, and this is part of your story, then you will go in unconsciously in these patterns trying to get it from other people that represent the initial people in your life that didn't give it to you. And so this is a process of unconscious patterning and conditions. So whether it's traumatic events that happen at one time, or whether it's something that happened experientially over a progression of time, the cellular storage and in your state of being of these events, they're still there. You can reference them in any moment in time currently because there's only one moment in time. So that means if we're coming out of this moment in time to go back to another one where we suffered, your body is chemically reproducing that exact pattern it doesn't care whether it's now or 10 years ago. So if we're not aware of this process, then the thoughts that arise that you think are you'll just take action from them. You will be an unconscious zombie robot taking action from conditioned thoughts, and then you'll get that result. And the idea is that you will suffer enough from that process of that conditioning. You will suffer enough inside of it so much that you'll ask the ultimate question, and that is like, who am I? Why is this happening to me? Why does this keep happening? And then on the core, if you keep asking, why does this keep happening to me? If you're brave enough to allow the answers, is the root, we'll call like the core issue of when you were first initially stamped, when you first accepted this belief system about you as a sense of your identity, and you can go and shift that in that period of time, and it will change how you operate in the world, and it'll change your results for sure.
Yeah, all those beliefs about yourself, like I talk a lot, I'm not good at math, I'm a whatever your beliefs about yourself are, those are things that you learned throughout your lifetime, and probably as a young child. But yeah, all of those things are changeable. Questions and comments are piling up, so we're going to have to give them the quick version here. Another question, and they're going to be all over the place, by the way.
I love that. No, I don't
We're going to
want
be
the
back
math.
and forth and all over the map. How do we find our purpose in life? I have a video on my page. I'm wearing a green shirt. It's called the Life Purpose Exercise. It's out of chapter 2 of the Success Principles by Jack Canfield. It's a great exercise, and it helps you identify some qualities that you have and kind of craft a single sentence that tells you your life purpose based on who you are in this moment. And when you get it right, it's very profound. It's very moving and gives you a lot of direction. When I did that, I mean, I literally broke down in tears the first time I did that, and I crafted that sentence. It's a really strong exercise, and I outlined it in a video. Like I said, it's called Life Purpose Exercise. I'm wearing a green shirt. It's probably about halfway down my page by now. Mine came out. My purpose is to use my insight, creativity, and love to entertainingly teach and inspire everyone to realize their full potential so we can all best serve humanity. That was the sentence that I crafted, right? Isn't that a great
sentence? I have a question
sentence?
for you.
Yeah.
Before this revelation, where you were, like this emotional alignment of like this coming in for you, do you know, like, your position before that? Because this is a question I get a lot as well. And some of these things that I have on my side are referencing what you're talking about. So, like, how do you change your subconscious beliefs? How do you find, how do I find my purpose? What's the point of this? What was your position before this revelation for you? Was it, I don't know what it is, and it wouldn't come in yet? Or was it you kind of thought, but you weren't sure? Like, what was your position before you had this epiphany that you're stuck with?
I think the same as everybody else. You think you have a purpose in life. You kind of maybe think you know what that purpose is a little bit, even possibly. But you know you're destined for something more, something greater than what you're currently doing, right? I'm not here to be a team lead in a call center, that's not my life purpose, right? So you have this feeling like there's something else that you're supposed to do, and you get little flashes of it here and there, right? When you engage in your passion, right? Whatever your passion is, when you start engaging in that, those moments where you're doing something and you forget time, and you forget to eat, and you forget to sleep, those things.
Right in.
right? That's where your passion lies, and that's probably where your life purpose lies as well. And you get flashes of that, and you kind of have a hint of that, but to gel it together like that in a single sentence was just mind blowing.
Yeah, and it took off. I mean, you're doing it, which is different.
Oh
It's
yeah,
sometimes people get that guidance or they'll have that epiphany, and then again the construct of the old belief that says that's not who you are kicks
yeah,
out the new identity you're trying to create. So,
right.
but you're doing it.
And sometimes those point to a specific job, and sometimes they don't. My wife's is a little more generic and doesn't point necessarily to a specific job. It's just kind of a way for her to be and do everything
Yeah,
that she does in life.
yeah,
Mine very much points to being some kind of teacher, which in my everyday work, I'm a trainer, a corporate trainer
excellent.
for an insurance company.
That's right.
Moving on, because they're piling up quick. You got stuff on your side?
Yeah, I just covered like the two of them. I'm just still trying to
Okay.
learn this thing here. So,
Right. It takes a
um,
while just trying to scroll on comments, and if there's a Q&A at the bottom, you got to click on that and go look at your questions.
yeah,
Um,
I have. Oh, I have. Hold on, just to because I do want to. One is how do you change your subconscious mind, and the other one is want to change career but not sure what I want to do. I would, and just because I'm aware of it, I would also reference Mark's video that he's talking about as
the
far as
life
like
purpose
because
exercise.
yeah, because purpose and career they're not necessarily mutually exclusive.
Mm-mm.
So when our people are asking this kind of question, it actually both of these questions that came in relatively at the same time, they're very both of these aspects are required for what I think is being called through you to kind of like come in. What I mean is like we all have a set of gifts or skills. There's something that, and these things, if you're asking the question, what do I do with my life? There's a good shot that you have been through enough of the life of your unconscious mind to know what you don't want to do. Right? We build up a lot of, my old man said when I was growing up, you can never spend enough time or money figuring out what you don't want to do with your life. And it changed a lot of my life because a lot of us hold like a system of regret or I wish or I should haves. And that's all preventative in the moment. It's resistance to doing the thing that you're actually that's trying to come through. So when you can let go of anything that you have done in your past or anything you're doing now, the resistance to like, how did I get here? I don't know what I do. I don't like this. I think my cat's going crazy. Then you can really get into a place where you can let go of that resistance, stop judging yourself from previous versions of you that were maybe looking for what you would be doing with your life in a place that isn't aligned with you. And it's in the surrender of that, and I'm going to talk about that probably in almost in every question or example. It's in the surrendering of what your mind believes it's trying to figure out what is meant for you. Your mind, some people don't like this, your mind has no idea what you're going to do next. Your mind, like the mind, that you're observing a mind. You're not your mind. There's no teacher, no relevant, guru, no nothing that has ever said like you're the mind. You're aware of the mind. So that means that there's a subject object relationship to it. So why that's important is because you're the awareness of the thing that's trying to get you to figure out what you're supposed to do. You're the awareness of that thing. And inside of your greater awareness is where the answers come to you. So it's understanding that you can observe the mind and say like, well, tell me what you think I should do. What should I do? Well, based on this, you were this in the past. This is going to be helpful for you to acquire what skills you have acquired in your life. What you do with them, if your mind knew, you would do it already. So what that means is that we have to trust a little bit more and let go of the reins and surrender the mind, appreciate it, and be grateful for what it has given us and told us, and the data that's contained inside of it, but then let go to something that's also inside of you that's been guiding you kind of this entire way, and use the combination of those two things, the awareness of your mind that's connected to the higher consciousness scale that you're shifting up and down based on whether or not you're identified with the mind or not. So you use both of these things, the awareness of what your mind is saying without attaching to it. And then from this point, you can use the data to allow what the next step for you is to come to you. And that's just like I give the analogy, Mark. I think we even talked about this before, like the GPS, right? You have to type in a GPS destination on your phone, and there's 28 steps to get you to the destination that you want. Now, you don't know the destination yet because you couldn't because it's not here yet. So the destination is I want to find my purpose and I want to do what I'm really passionate about and I want to have the highest and greatest impact through my life for the most amount of people in humanity. Boom. I like that. I don't know what that looks like yet because I couldn't possibly know, but that's the idea. And then this place, universe, yourself, is going to go, got it. Trust me. Here's the next step. And the next step might be like, call this person or do this thing or do it's going to lead you just like the GPS in your car, one step at a time. And we're talking about inner and outer intention. This is the aspect where, okay, you trust yourself enough to finally know you don't like the stuff you're doing for a living, which is calling in the question, what do I do with my life? The next thing is, I want to have the most impact and have the greatest love and passion with what I do every single day. I just want that. I don't know what it looks like yet. Surrender to the fact that you don't know what it looks like yet. Don't get into the loop of suffering and judgment over, I don't know what to do. I'm this old and I don't know what to do. I've been doing it this long and I don't know what to do. That's all your mind, which you are not.
Yeah.
So do your best to let that go and
I,
then trust that just like you put in the GPS on your phone, that the next step is going to go and you're going to trust that it's going to call to you when you're ready to turn left or turn right.
I,
And
I
that way
talk
you
about
can
that.
enjoy the road.
I talk about that all the time when I talk about manifestation.
Same,
It's like,
same.
figure out what you want, write it down, get a picture of it, whatever, envision it,
Yeah.
and then take inspired action, right? You're going to sit back, you're going to get what I call promptings. You're going to get
Love that. I love that word. I love
just
that.
what you were talking about, right? So you're going to get little promptings. I should go here. I should call this person, like you said, or, when I bought my new car, I didn't even realize I was in the process of buying my new car. I was manifesting a car and had been for a long time, but I wasn't looking. And then my old car broke down. I never take my car to the dealer, never, for them to fix it.
Right.
Well, I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. So I
Yeah.
had no choice. I was like, all right, I had this prompting all of a sudden to go completely out of character and go take the car to the dealership, which is something I would never, ever, ever do to get it fixed. I would take it to a mechanic or I would do it myself. I would not go to the dealer. But
Yeah.
I just had that little feeling that I should take it to the dealer. And I did, and they made me an offer for the car, and that's how I ended up buying my new car. It was a step on the process, and I didn't even see it as a step, but I know enough in my experience now to follow those things when they come up. And we've got 25 comments, and we got to move on.
Go for it.
Affirmations to change subconscious. Yes, there's two ways to look at it, right? We can go back and we can deal with the trauma and we can heal and we can reframe, or we can say, this is where I am, and start shooting some affirmations at ourselves and move forward and make conscious different choices in the future, right?
Yeah.
Um, how do you know if your manifestation is on its way? I have a short answer to that one.
Go for it. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's probably the
If
same
change
answer.
is happening,
Mm-hmm.
if change is happening, it's on its way.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's change you consider to be bad. I hear it all the time. My manifestation's not working. It's going the wrong direction.
The law of opposites.
The old has to get out of the way for the new to come in. My old car broke down. That day it broke down, that was a bad day.
Right.
Not really. It was a step on the path to getting my brand new car.
Right.
So, was it a bad day? No, it was a necessary step. You don't
Right.
know if it's good or bad. I mean, that's an interpretation, right?
It
Of fear.
is. So here's to that trusting point, like where a lot of people, where we're talking about, you're connected to a higher level of awareness that can see more than you can from this limited point of view, right? So if you are just always trusting that the things that are happening in your bad days are on the way or something that needs to happen for the thing you asked for to come in, then you can really reframe in the moment those days that are like, why would this happen? Why would my car break down? That doesn't make it. So like there's a version of you that exists in infinitely, obviously, but like also in the future where you've already got this car. It already existed in potential. You may not have even been asking consciously for that car, but like maybe who knows what. But if there was something that was calling you were trying to manifest a car, and the day that your car broke down, it wouldn't your car have to be out of the way in order for your new car to come in, right? So like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
exactly what you were saying. Like, but most of the questions that I get on my end are, it's been too long. It's going the other way. It's going backwards. This doesn't seem to make sense. And again, your mind has no idea. It can't know how it's going to happen. There's something else that does. So if you
Yeah.
trust more in that something else that does, you'll know, like he's saying, things are moving, and that's when it's coming.
And that's why I keep saying, don't worry about the how. Don't
Don't
worry
worry about
about
it.
the
That's not
how.
our
Trust
job.
the process. Just follow the steps. Just take the next step. Forget about how. You cannot dictate how. Be open to whatever for
Yeah.
how and just take the next step.
Yeah. Yep.
Do my negative thoughts manifest?
Dude, I don't know who asked that, but I have the exact same one on this side. Manifesting my negative thoughts is a huge fear of mine.
Maybe we should talk about that.
Maybe that's something we should talk about. You want to go first?
Um, A, yes, all your thoughts manifest. B, if you're working to remain positive and you're manifesting something and you have that occasional doubt, but you're catching yourself and turning it around. I mean, doubt's normal. You're not going to eliminate the doubt. It's not ever going to go away,
Right.
right? But if you're manifesting, I always go back to the car example. It's something everybody can understand.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I'm manifesting my new car, right? My uh, old car breaks down. I'm like, oh my God, it's $3,000 to fix. I'm all wrapped up in that emotion of that moment. I'm never going to be able to get the money together to get my new car, worrying about the how. I didn't think like that, but it's an easy trap to
It's just
fall into.
right.
And how am I going to make this happen? If I did fall into that for a few minutes, I would say, whoa, 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 stop. Okay, back up. I actually did for a second. When the car broke and I realized I was going to take it to the dealership, they gave me the offer. They had one car on the lot that was even close to what I would want. And I called and I talked to a salesman. I said, I'm going to be up there tomorrow to see this car. I got there first thing in the morning the next day. They said it sold last night. I was mad. I was
Right.
like, I took a day off from work to get up here. I need to buy a car, and which I did wasn't true. I'm working from home. I don't need another car. We have two cars. I mean, one car's fine for now. And I just got all wrapped up in my emotions for a second. And then Rosa, my lovely wife, actually said to me, well, that really wasn't what we wanted anyway. Maybe now this is our chance to get what we want. And I was like, oh, you're right. And
Yeah.
then we ended up buying a car that they was already on the way to the dealership, and they had a dry erase board up with all the cars on it. And I saw this one car that was the exact model with the exact features in the exact color that was exactly what I wanted, that was going to be there in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And I just looked at the salesman. I said, "That's my car.
I'll take it.
Yeah, give me that one."
Yep. Yep. And just to answer like the same end, there's something called the law of hypnotic rhythm. If you've ever heard of it, it's something that I teach pretty often. And it helped definitely to change my life. It's the idea and understanding that as far as like your mind just labeled the thoughts that you subjectively believe are negative, and then your fear of what those thoughts represent is what you're scared of walking through or manifesting in your life. So what that means is that your thoughts that you're claiming ownership of, that you are worried about being negatively manifested, this is a subjective idea that you've contained inside of your identity, that you believe that these thoughts are bad, and I'm so scared of what these thoughts represent to me that I fear creating them. Well, you will. You 100% will. So it's not so much the thought that's bad. Just like when Mark was saying his car broke down, that's a bad thing. It was not a thing. It was actually the thing necessary to get him towards the thing he wants. So the law of hypnotic rhythm teaches that each and every single thought as it comes in is neutral until we charge it with an emotion based on a belief system. So if Mark had on a green shirt today, and I was like, Mark, that green shirt looks like shit. It looks terrible. Never wear green again. Don't wear green. It's horrible. He's going to look at me and be like, what the are you talking about? I do not have a green shirt. And it's going to repel him, right? But if I were to say, what color is that? I don't know what color that is. If I were to match the color of
Salmon.
his salmon, if I was like, salmon, nah, no good, man, don't do it. If there was any part of Mark that believed or was self-conscious about the shirt, he would now claim ownership of that thought as his own and deem it to be negative. But it's the exact same thought or comment as the green shirt. We accept the ones that come in if we claim ownership of them based on a belief system that we have or an insecurity or a fear. So the first thing I would do is understand that none of these thoughts you're talking about are objectively negative. There's a part in your story that's allowed them to be negative for you, and you can shift that in the moment by realizing that you get to choose. And I mean that. You get to choose which thoughts you allow. You get to choose. You could observe, again, you're not your mind. You can observe these negative thoughts, write them out, face them, look at them, see what they say. They're not true objectively. And then you get to shift from that point forward, and you'll have
And,
less fear about what you create.
and ask yourself, where'd that come from?
Yeah. Right.
What,
Where did love it?
yeah, where did that come from? And does everybody think like that? And is it serving me? And if it's not serving me, is there a better thought that could serve me?
Yeah, I
That
love
I could,
that.
a better belief that I could replace it with, right?
Yeah,
So
I love that.
I'm trying to catch up in comments, and they're kind of talking about the same things that we're talking about here. So everything being created from thought first. There was a little bit of discussion about they were talking about some success that they're having uh, in manifesting some business and a partner and all kinds of stuff. Lots of concern about the negative thoughts. I think we've covered that pretty well. I want to get back to this question, overcoming fear. The real quick short answer on that, and I'll just remind everybody, use the Q&A feature on my side, the Q&A feature at the bottom. So I'll be sure to get to your question. Overcoming fear. It's really simple. You ready? I'm gonna do a recalculator technique here. Action defeats fear. Once you do it, you can't be afraid of it anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree. People want to get to a point where they don't feel the fear.
You're always going to feel the fear. It's
Right,
new and
correct.
different. The
So
lizard brain is going to tell you anything new and different is scary.
right, exactly. When you realize that that thing that's telling you not to do this thing or scaring you to do it, it's not punishing you. It's designed to keep you safe. So, based on a story you've told it, right? So you've told that the story it's trying to keep you safe from anything new, even if that new thing is better subjectively defined by you. So when there's something else coming in, don't try to get yourself to the point where you don't feel the fear and then say that's when you're going to take action. It's taking action through the fear that defeats it. You're going to feel it. Let it be there. It's going to be icky. It's going to be uncomfortable. But if you make that choice, that's the progression of deleting that fear from
Right.
your experience.
That's
Because
the little voice in the back of your head that's trying to keep you safe, right? It's part of the survival instinct. Anything new and different is dangerous.
yeah,
And you just tell that little voice, you just say, thank you for functioning, appreciate you. We're not being chased by a saber-toothed tiger.
all right.
We're okay. I got this. All right. I'm going to go do
Yeah,
this anyway. I mean, and then the other thing you can do is just ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? I mean, you
love
could
that.
tell
It's one of my favorites.
you could tell yourself all kinds of crazy stories about that, but I mean, in reality, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah,
I
let
lose
the
a
what if
couple of
game in.
bucks, I lose a little time, I learned this, I learned that. I mean, and the other thing is people are afraid of failure or afraid of being judged. And it's like, well, number one, what anybody else thinks of you doesn't matter. Number two, it's only failure if you don't learn something. If you learn something, it's a lesson.
Yep,
So,
100%.
and failure is an intrinsic part of the path to success. When you were learning how to walk, you fell down. You got back up. You tried again. You fell down. You got back up. You tried again. As children, we understand that failure is an intrinsic part of the process to get to what we want, to be able to do what we want to do. Somewhere along the line, we get embarrassed by that process and we stop trying because we don't want to be judged.
Yep, for sure.
Sarah Jane is here. Yay, Sarah
What up,
Jane.
Sarah?
Sarah Jane is one of my greatest fans. I appreciate her so much. Nice to see you, Sarah Jane. I think she's following you too.
Oh, thank you. I'm
All of
very
my
grateful for everyone who has.
greatest fans are following you also. That's my top 1,000 went to see you. I'm sure you got some of your own too. I'm sure that whole 1,000 is not from me. You're doing great work over there, by the way. I love your content, Pat, and
Thank
I
you, man.
see your
Thank you.
stuff and every video you do, just the way that you talk about stuff. I learn things, right?
Uh,
Things that I thought I knew or things that I thought I understood. I have people tell me all the time that I have a knack for explaining manifestation in a really simple, easy, understandable
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like that when I watch your stuff. It's like you take these really complex psychological concepts and explain them in a way that they click for me. And I appreciate you for that. That's why I
Oh,
wanted
man,
to.
I'm so grateful for everything you've done for me, and this has been something again. I mean, I use this as an example of creating and manifesting and like things lining up. This wasn't even something I was considering or thinking about to be on this platform, and I can tell you that being on it, even the short time I've been here, has been wild. I'm gonna cough here. I had to hit mute.
All
It's
right.
been
That's why I keep this around.
Yeah, that's a smart idea. I'm learning all of this stuff here I get to do. But yeah, it was been amazing how this progressed and how what a pivotal role you played in even me being over here, let alone all the love that you've shown me and everyone who is a part of your amazing family that did come over and
It,
and say hello.
it goes back even further than that, though, because
Tell me, I love it.
Brandon, right? Our mutual friend Brandon Thomas, Expanding Reality. I've told you guys about Expanding Reality before. You need to go find that channel. It's a podcast, Expanding Reality. He's like top 0.5% of all podcasts, right? This dude is huge. Brandon Thomas is his name. Expanding Reality is the podcast. He covers all kinds of just out there, over the top, like everything from UFOs to energy to
Everything.
whatever, all of it. Yes, I mean it's a mind blowing. Can't even explain it, but he started following me. He asked me to do an episode of his podcast, and which we've yet to work out, by the way. And when I first talked to him, we just clicked, man. He's just
Yeah.
like a brother. And we had a great conversation. And he told me about you and a couple other people. And then I ran into you just coincidentally.
Right.
I ran into your content myself on Instagram at the same time, and I was like, "Hey, what was the name of that guy?" And he's like, "Pat," and I was like, "Oh yeah, no, yeah, I see him over here." Instantly clicked with your material, and yeah, when you told me you weren't over here, I was like, "Dude," because I knew you'd be huge over here.
Yeah, that
Knew it.
was that was so fun, so great. That was a wild week for sure. Just
Yeah.
um,
So, I mean, had you been thinking about expanding your social media presence, though?
yeah, I mean, this all started as a podcast as well. I host a Like Attracts Like podcast, and that's how Brandon and I found each other. He similarly was watching some of the or listening to some of the podcasts and some of the videos that I have on YouTube, and he just reached out and he was like, "Bro, you've got to come on. You've got to come on. We'll have the greatest conversation." So we did. We had an incredible conversation, and it was like because of the dialogue we shared, it was one of his more popular shows. So we got a lot of comments about what we were talking about. So he had me back on for his 100th episode. It was just a very kind of like elaborate shift from like the podcast, and then I was like, okay, well, I want to make content on Instagram. So then I started learning that, and then I was like, well, YouTube has to expand. So I just wanted to kind of be on all the platforms to reach as many humans as I can. And I had, as far as like a limited belief and a block, I had a block to TikTok because back when I first considered it, it was something that it wasn't yet of the frequency that I thought my message would be most well received. This is the best way that I can put it. I didn't think that there was anybody would even want to. I never want to put anything where it's not kind of asked for. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm not here for that. So it was really just a matter of, there were some platforms I was comfortable with, and then this one at first was not one of them. So when you reached out to me, there was like this warm blanket of like, it's okay, everything's shifting, it's all happening and changing, and there wasn't even a second to believe you. I felt what you were saying, and so that this was really the last platform that I was like hesitant, and I just kind of fell right into it. So I just have
And
been in love ever since.
the fam got you to 1,000 within like what was it,
17 days.
four
Yeah,
days or
something like
something
that.
crazy
Yeah.
that it took. All
Yeah. Yeah, it was quick.
and we appreciate you guys so much for that. You're
You
gonna
have no
learn
idea.
so much from this guy, and we're so grateful that he's here now.
Yeah.
And I thank you from the bottom of my heart, all of my fans. Even my own journey on here. I had 503 followers after 9 months
Yeah.
on here. I had 500 followers January 8th. That was the day that I decided, you know what? I know how to do this and
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it the right way, the manifestation way, right? And I hadn't even decided to talk about manifestation at that point. I didn't know what I was going to talk about. I just knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And, here I am basically, what is it, like 90 days later after that, and I'm at knocking on the door of 38,000.
Right.
And I just appreciate that so much. I actually wanted to talk about not hitting a goal, because I was on a previous live, and some of the people that are here now saw this live
Yeah.
where I was on a live in the middle of March, and I said, I was at about, I don't remember, 33, 34,000 at that point, and I said, by the end of the month, I'm going to be at 50,000.
Uh huh.
I said, watch this, and I closed my eyes and I did my thing, and I said 50,000 by the end of March, and it didn't happen.
Yep.
We're well past the end of March, and I'm only at 38, and
Yep.
so I wanted to talk about that because when I got to the end of the month, I realized there was a reason it didn't happen. And this reason may apply. Somebody out here right now needs to hear this story, or multiple people, because we get the question all the time. I'm sure you get it too. Is like, why isn't it happening? Why didn't it happen?
Mm-hmm.
So this, I realized, was a conscious choice on my part. There actually came a point where I was like, this is scary. I need this to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to build a website. I'm trying to get some coaching together because I got people asking me for coaching. I'm trying to and there I go using the word try again, right? I hate that
Right.
word.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, and that's what I was saying to myself. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. I need this to slow down so I can get caught up. That was my prevailing thought.
Yeah.
And it did. As soon as I started thinking that, the brakes came on and
Yeah.
everything slowed down. Well, now I'm done. We're fixing to launch. I'm getting with my IT person. It's probably going to launch tomorrow, and hopefully tomorrow night. And then I'll have some coaching available, and then we're just going to grow from there. I've got a basic manifestation PDF I've got on there. It's a free download. I don't even really have anything to sell anybody at this point. I got my free Audible trial on there and my free PDF download, and like, okay, you want some coaching? Okay, here's a calendar. Book some time. Give me some
Yep.
money, whatever.
Yeah. That's how
We'll
it started.
trade.
That's
So,
it. That's
give
it.
me a chicken. I don't care. Whatever. We'll trade something. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Um, and but I'm ready to go again.
I love it.
I'm ready for it to take off. But that's why I didn't hit that. So if you're here now and you're like, you remember he said he was going to hit 50,000 by the end of the month. What happened with that? If he's Mr. Manifestation King, it was a conscious choice
Mm-hmm.
I got scared. I was like, oh, this is going too fast. And so it was a conscious
Yeah.
choice. So just be aware of that inside yourself. As you're manifesting something, as it starts to move, as your life starts to move in that direction, sometimes the fact that this process appears so magical can be scary. Just the process itself, it's like, holy crap, I'm doing this, I'm making this
Yeah.
happen, I have a power.
Yeah.
Just that gets scary, right? Sometimes.
Well,
Uh,
most people say if you ask most people whether they're frightened of how powerless they are, or how powerful they are, they that's a question most people aren't asked. But in essence, since we are all this same creator being, entangled with a mind that says we are not that, as we start to realize more of what we truly are and what we can do and how we can do it and how amazingly this process can unfold when you let it, then the mind will jump back in and potentially, depending on what's going on, it could push the brakes. And so it's this constant, going back and forth of, realizing how powerful you are and that terrifying you. And then not knowing what to do. The reason why most people are where they are for as long as they are, even if they're suffering, is because it's comfortable. And most people don't like to admit that. I was comfortable in my suffering. And when I tried
yeah.
to evolve beyond it and realize, like, oh shit, I can change this. the reality of the little bubble that I was in, even though I was suffering in it, it was more terrifying to blast out into what I knew I wanted to do. It was more scary to do that than to sit in my little wormhole of suffering. And
I've
so I kept telling that story.
I've actually just been pondering doing a video about the comfort zone.
Yeah,
I actually have my notes right here. I was
I
just
love it.
Googling right before this.
Yeah,
It is the crusher of creativity, the assassin of ambition, the decimator of dreams, the
yeah,
comfort
comfort zone.
zone.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
Um, I think the other side of it too is when you realize that you have the power to craft your own life and take it where you want, it kind of forces you to look at where you're at and what's happened so far and take responsibility for that.
Right,
And a lot of people don't like that. It's like,
right. Well, that's
the,
the part when you're talking about, that's why the word manifestation is tricky, right? Because the way that it's been positioned and the way that it's been brought to you, via even Wayne Dyer and The Secret and, Abraham Hicks and all these people, which I love all of them. But the way that it has been positioned is almost a sales technique. It is only telling you like that the only thing that's considered to be a manifestation is something you deliberately ask for that's better or more than what you have now, and anything other than that is not, it's not working. But it is working, and it's working in these infinite and various degrees of what you believe should work for you. That's the long and short answer of it. So, realizing that, like, it's not just like I want this many this, or I want this much that, or I'd like to have this. Like, most people, when they think of that thing, because of the comfort zone that they're in, they don't feel good when they think about it, right? So sometimes, this is the other thing I wanted to touch on when you're saying, like, when you publicly make an announcement of like what I'm going to do, no matter how powerful you are, there, like you were saying earlier, like, there's always a doubt, there's always a fear that arises, there's always a something. So when you make a public claim to be like, I'm going to do this, and you take it out of the realm of that inner intention, then you're almost like, every moment that gets closer to the deadline, if we're not seeing the evidence of it, it will create more doubt. And so it's not that it doesn't work. It's not that it didn't work. It worked fucking perfectly. It couldn't have worked any better. And that's what I love. So the second you're like, oh, I just got goosebumps too, so I'm in. Like, Mark's like, this is it. I'll pick a date. I'm gonna got it. It's gonna happen. Now he's back. Now he's back aligned with what got him here in the first place. He doesn't need, to be honest, he doesn't need me or you or anyone else to know this. It's gonna happen, and when it does, he's gonna be like, ta-da!
or this rock.
Or that rock. What is it? Dude, don't. I'm all over the place with these little. I'm all over the place with these symbols. I'm all over the place. I don't want to show you my.
You did not just pick up a rock.
Bro. Because I love you. I'm all about it. I love it. I love it.
There is a girl on here on TikTok. Her name is Selena Rose. The
Mm,
O in Rose is the number 0. Selena Rose.
I love
Go
that.
find her. She is
I will.
awesome. She has a line of jewelry called Elementals, and she actually infuses this jewelry with Reiki energy before she
Mm,
sends it out. She like connects with the person who's going to receive it and
yeah, I love that.
shoots it. Well, just because she did something really awesome for me, I co-hosted with her one night, and just oddly enough, nobody could join that live. Something went wrong, and nobody could come and watch. But it turned into something very personal that I really was kind of glad
Ooh,
nobody was around.
I
And
love that.
several very deep revelations and breakthroughs on my part and from this young lady. And we ordered some of her jewelry because I wanted to pay her back somehow, and my wife loved the jewelry. So we ordered the jewelry, and when it came with this rock. And it's I don't even know,
Is
I
that
don't
lapis or
remember.
soda light?
Sodalite, yes, it's
Yeah,
sodalite. So it's supposed to help you connect with your spirit guides, right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Apparently, or something. Well, I didn't know what it was, but my cat was very interested in this rock. My cat is seriously attracted to this rock
Yeah.
for some reason. And plays with it incessantly, but I carry it with me, and I started carrying it with me the first couple of days it came here, and something happened on my channel. I forget what. I made a video, and just this explosion of growth on my channel right after it showed up. And I was
Yeah.
like, holy crap. It was like 3 days after it got here, I actually messaged her, and I was like, what the did you do to me? What
Well,
did you do to this rock?
it's interesting
What did you do? But
because sodalite is actually also it's a throat chakra stone. It's aligned with the energy of the for those of you that align with that or understand what that is. It's aligned with your throat chakra, and so for what you are now doing and transitioning to even do, for a living or for whatever you're doing on your platform as you speak, that stone is aligned with your voice and your power in your throat. So it's clearing anything that you would have consciously or karmically preventing you from speaking your truth as proficiently as possible. So that makes perfect sense to me as to why that would do that in this context.
right. And so it's marvelous that it does that, but it, like you just said, at the same time, we don't need it.
Don't need it. We give it power, and I feel like
We give it power. Because we it works because we believe it works,
boom, 100%. There's
right?
nothing other than us, right?
Which is
There's no one
why
else in
on
the room.
Right, which is why on my channel people ask me all the time, should I do this or should I do this? How do I manifest? Do I write it down? Do I get a picture? Do I do it twice a day? Do I do it once a day? Do I meditate for five
Pick,
minutes? Do I meditate for an hour? It's like you do you.
pick.
Whatever you believe is going to work, that's what you do because
Yep.
that's what's going to work.
And that's a great callback to affirmations too, because again, you're fighting a lot of momentum of disbelief. And just like we're saying how doubt's always there, the energy and power of disbelief from whatever reasons you had in your life story to not believe certain things. So there are people asking similar questions like, all right, so what do I do? How do I, affirm these things? If the thing you're affirming is too far out of the realm of your belief to kind of let be a thing, if it's too far gone, it will actually work in reverse. Because it's not what you say, it's how you feel about what you say. That's alignment. You can say whatever you want. That's how most people are probably here listening to you or even to me. Like they've been saying something for a really long time and they've been getting like a result that doesn't seem to match. It's not what you say, it's not what you write down without matching the power that you have within to empower the affirmation. But a lot of times people are trying to give power to the affirmation from their lack or weakness, and that doesn't work. It's because you're the source of that power that you have to infuse into the affirmation, and then the affirmation your brain will go to work to look for it, and then your outer intention, which is stuff that we don't understand, will start to move the pieces in a weird way to make it work. And as long as you let go of the weird way, being good or bad, it will fly to you.
Exactly. I see, and that right there, that kind of explanation that I sit in awe of when you talk like that. I'm like, perfect explanation, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't, I literally could not have said it better. By the way, giving the ego a little nod here. I'm at 5,000 likes on my side.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Oh,
for
where do I
this
find that?
live. Up at the top left corner under your name, it'll say how many likes you have on
Oh,
your side.
geez, 1,000.
You have 1,000 just from the people that are on your side.
Yeah, I love you all. Thank you. I'm very,
And
very, very grateful.
I have to recognize Natty. Natty
Sure.
Unstoppable's in here. Natty, I've seen you. We've just been busy talking. Love you. I love everybody. Uh, Kelly and Sarah and Ann and Maggie. And I like to call people out by name. And the people whose names I can't pronounce, I see you all and I appreciate you very much for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you
Same. I'm
guys.
new over here, but I do see what's going on here and I'm learning. And I love each and every single one of you for sure.
Right. So sometimes when you're talking and you see me like do something or say thank you or something, I'm acknowledging a comment or somebody
Yeah, no, that's what
that's
I'm doing. I
going
feel
by
like a
while you're
weird. I'm like
talking.
waving as somebody writes a comment. I'm like, I think he
Yeah.
thinks I'm flirting with him.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm not. It's hard to. Yeah, you'll learn as you do more of this that
Yeah.
you'll be talking, but you want to acknowledge that you see somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I definitely get that.
Anyway, wow, great. What other questions do we have? You got any questions on your side? You got comments? What can we talk
There's
about?
one that is referencing, it says, what is the third reason for my manifestation not coming in your video? I made so many recently that I'm not sure which one you're
There
referring
was
to.
like the one that I recommended when I was pumping you people. You did a video, it had 3 reasons why you're not getting your manifestation.
Hmm.
And I don't remember the reasons off the top of
There's
my
so
head
many
either.
yeah, there's so many
There's a
reasons.
lot
I'm
of
not sure what I picked.
reasons, right?
Right. There's yeah. If you can, if you're still here and you want to let me know which one of the probably several reasons I've
What
given.
what were the first 2 reasons that you remember on the video, and that may prompt him to
The
remember the
first
third
one,
one?
from what I remember, and there's usually a few, like 6 or 7 that I pick from, but in most cases, it's putting it on a pedestal. So the first one for sure is putting it on a pedestal, and that's again similar to the believing that the affirmation has the power to for you to get the thing you want. It's
Right.
anytime you are putting something or giving something some importance beyond the power that you contain initially in this moment, then you're saying and describing to the world that you're less than it. And if you're saying you're less than it, that means you're chasing after it. And that if you are chasing after something you believe is greater than you, it's running from you.
Yeah.
So that
And we talk about being in alignment. If you put it on a pedestal, this fabulous, great thing that's going to be, then, I mean, just that feeling, for lack of a better word, that vibration,
yeah
right, says that thing, that untouchable thing that's up here on a pedestal. I am not worthy, right? Well, okay. Well, if you're not worthy, you're not worthy. If
yeah
that's what you want to believe,
yeah. The
yeah.
second one could have been that you're not clear. That's a one that I use often too. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not clear about what you want, I give an example of if you went to if you went out to eat, if Mark and I went out to eat and we sit down and there's just like this buffet of anything and everything that we could ever want in the back, and the waiter comes up and says like, what would you like? And we're like, I don't know, figure it out, I don't like what I've been getting, so bring me what I want, without articulating what it is that you want. They have no idea what to bring you. There's no idea from the universe, if you will, this outer intention of what it is that you want. So this works in 2 ways, and I'll keep it brief, but this works in 2 ways. Being clear on what you want and being very, I'll say specific in origin, but also open to possibilities. Will allow your brain, there's something in your brain, referencing this law of hypnotic rhythm again, there's something in your brain, you can look this up, it's not a made up thing, called your reticular activating system. And it is the part of your brain that's designed to go into your reality, your world, your life that you're living, and bring to your attention that which you tell it you want to see. This is really actually super important. I'll just take a second.
I
Because it
call
is
it the brain filter.
you're literally looking through a lens. So whatever it is that you're saying you want to see, it's bringing those things to you. So if you've ever played the punch buggy game, or if you've ever bought a new car, if you have ever understood these ideas where the punch buggy, the punch buggy game, Mark, you familiar with that? Like you see a Volkswagen Beetle,
Oh, slug bug. Yeah.
Slugbug, boom. Oh, I love that name. That's a new name, Slugbug. So
Slug
if
bug.
you
Bap.
yeah,
Slug
so
bug. Yeah.
basically, the Volkswagen Beetle, the Volkswagen Bugs. If Mark and I are driving on the road to Florida, and we decide not to play the game, you know how many punch buggies we see? We see zero. We see zero of them. But on the way back, if I'm like, "Yo, Mark, you want to play Slug Bug? You want to play punch buggy game?" And he's like, "I'm in. Let's go." Do you know how many we see on the way back? All of them. We see every single one behind a building, the front fender, under a flare truck over there. Like we see all of them. Why? Did they magically appear and we manifested them? No, they were always there. We told our brain to look for it, and it went out of its way, knowing the concept of what we believe it is, to bring these things that match it to our attention. So what you focus on expands. So now pull this into your manifestation game. And now you're deciding on, I want this thing. We're saying it consciously, I want this thing. If you don't believe that you're going to see that thing, or if you don't believe it's going to happen, or if you have a story that says I'm not worthy of it, or I'm no good without it, if you have that story internally, regardless as to what you're saying externally, you're focusing on the lack of that thing. So you're telling your brain to look for the I don't have. And your brain, even though you're saying I want, is going out of its way to bring into your attention the I don't have, because that's what you're actually saying. Human beings are weird because we have the ability to say one thing and believe and say another thing at the same time. So you really have to be honest, like Mark was saying before. You have to dive into your inner honesty and say, who's saying this? Who wants this and why? And then what do I actually think about my possibility or potential to get it? am I being specific with what I want? And when I'm being specific, do I actually think I'm going to get it? That is how you bridge the gap alignment wise. Say what you want, write it out, script the movie. You're the star in your own movie, script it out. But then be careful to look at the movie and be like, I don't think any of that shit's possible. Or I think it's all possible. I can't wait to see how this unfolds. Those are two different energetic alignments to the thing you're saying you want, both of which will either bring it to you because your brain will find what you're saying you want charged with a positive emotion, or it's going to bring you the lack of it in some wild ways, and you're going to curse the whole system and say it doesn't work. It's working both times.
What you think is possible for you is what's possible for you.
Period.
Period.
Period. Period.
Period.
Yep.
End of discussion. Right?
Yep.
Fargo, hey.
Hey, Fargo.
I have prompted Fargo to look into Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? I lean
Needs.
heavily
Yeah.
when I talk from a psychology perspective. I mean, to me, Maslow's hierarchy of needs pretty much explains human behavior, period, right? For me.
For sure.
But he's asking any opinions on the 48 laws of power. I'm not familiar with that. Are you?
I mean, by
Is that
definition, they're going to be the same as everything else. So, I mean, you'd have to be more specific on there's only one power, and the ego is labeled it in this case 48 different ways with 48 different variables. But
right?
there could be someone else that's like, oh, I've heard of that. Do you know about the law of 1,000 powers? And it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same thing. Like, well, I've heard about the law of 9 powers, or the 7.
Yeah.
Like, it's all going to be based on the 7 hermetic principles of
Right.
energy, the laws of energy. So
yeah,
I'd love to get.
Yeah, people ask me all the time, law of attraction or law of assumption, like they're two different things. And I'm like, they're not two different things. They go to, and they're like, yes, they are. And I'm like,
two ways to look at the same thing.
Okay, so you read a book by Neville Goddard and have not read anything else, clearly, and which is why you're over here. And then you've read The Secret and not read anything else, which is why you're over here. But you got to read all of it, right? You got to do all of the research, because really, if you really understand all of it, it goes together, all of it. It's all talking about the same stuff, and it's all talking about the same stuff in the same way, just using different words.
And if you want to end all not arguments with other people, but if you want to end all arguments with yourself, and I don't think we should dive into it on this one, but I'll plant a seed. If you want to really end all arguments with all things that are defined or labeled as all of whatever this is, look into non-doership, the understanding energetically of non-doership. And then we'll have another live, and the whole live will be dedicated to non-doership. And I think that there would be a certain amount of you who are here aligned with the content we're talking about, that it could change absolutely your whole entire everything. It's challenging because it really takes a lot of what we're talking about as far as like the ego mind's construction, right? Which is just doesn't exist anywhere. Who we believe we are, the concept of Pat Mahan, is not a real thing. It's malleable. It's shape-shifted from the time that I was 6 and first self-aware to my age now, and it's going to be an entirely different thing when I'm 70. The concept of who I am. But there is one awareness of that idea, right? So what it's basically saying is that there is no one doing anything here. That Buddha said it best, that the events will happen, things will get done, but not a doer will be found. So what he's talking about is that there is the ego that takes credit for things is not a real thing. So what that means is that there's something that's being asked of you to be done through you, not by you. And when you can figure out, this references everything we've ever talked about here today on this live, the purpose, the fear, the doubt, all of it, puts all into a context. There's tons of content out there. But it removes the idea of a doer needing to figure out what to do and figure out a purpose, that there's something being shown to you. If you would move the ego out of the way to listen to what that thing is, and then take inspired action, like when you realize that you're doing something in the world, there's no doer, just as though you're not breathing. Breath is happening and you're aware of it. Your heart is beating, but you're not doing it. Your thoughts are happening and arising, but you're not thinking. You're aware of thought, you're aware of breath, and you're aware of all of the bodily things that are happening to keep you, that you think you are, moving forward in the world. So when you can take and surrender that idea that there's no doer, it could be mind-bendingly amazing, and crazy shit will happen when you start to let that kind of be a thing for you. But it's also an ego death, so it's terrifying.
You, number one, you just punched me in the gut.
Yeah,
Number
it happened. I
two,
know it happens. I was careful, but
uh, but it's a punch in the gut because it's something. It's one of those things that I've always known, but never really put into words, right? The way I used to say it once upon a time, when I was much, much younger, life works if you let it, right? Life
that's it.
works.
That's almost all you have to say. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And then I got away from that, and now I'm finally here in my elder years, finally getting back to that, right?
Yeah,
But you're absolutely right. Life works if you let it. And I've made a couple of videos talking about that. Just get out of your own way. Just
that's
how
it.
do
That's
you make
it.
it happen? You just let it happen.
Let it happen.
Yeah,
Any of those laws that you're talking about are referencing
yeah,
some kind of a control mechanism preventing you from letting it happen.
yeah. And to hear you describe that the way you just did was just like crystal in my brain.
Yeah, yeah,
Suddenly, like the
yeah.
pieces suddenly fit together. It's like, holy crap, that's
When someone's ready to
exactly.
hear something like that,
Yeah,
it is the thing that shifts everything wide open. So,
yeah,
Shazanova, I hope I said that right. So this is exactly what I heard today already, and here it is again. So that
yeah,
means that you are 100% ready to dive into the idea that you can still use your personality. You can still use the concept of you as a person to move in the world and interact with other humans in amazing ways. But how you will act and what you will do will be done through you. And from some, I don't know from what.
Heard it in more than one place. What a
What a
coincidence!
coincidence! Reggae horn.
uh, uh, TikTok live tip number 2 for you. Keep a pad of paper nearby because people are going to ask you questions, book recommendations, things are going to come
Yeah,
up, and you're going to
I
be
love
like,
all
oh,
that.
yeah. I get stuff all the time, and then I go research it, and many times it turns out to be just what I needed
Just weird.
to read or see or hear or
Yeah,
look at. What a surprise!
yeah, I can't believe it.
Gee, how did that happen? Let's get caught up here. Confirmation bias. Yes, that's the reticular activating
Of
system.
course, it's
That is
true.
exactly where your confirmation bias comes from.
Right, that's the
Is
point. Yeah,
because you believe a certain thing, your reticular activating system says, okay, you want to believe that. Here is every piece of evidence around you that supports that belief.
right.
And it's
That,
not going to show you anything else contrary. That's exactly how the algorithms in social media work. It's how your brain works.
yeah,
And that's why everybody is so sharply divided and programmed into what they believe and so fiercely
yeah.
convicted,
Well,
right?
some people try to use it as like a defeat mechanism for what we're talking about. Like, dude, that's just confirmation bias. And I'm like, I know that. That's what my whole point is. If you knew like that what you have been saying to yourself in your whole life shows itself to you, wouldn't you be a lot more careful about what you say to yourself? Like that's the whole point is that it's confirmation bias.
Right. Yeah. Maggie Bay says being, not doing, what we were just talking about.
Yeah, right. There is
Um,
no doer. Love
mm-mm.
that. Love you. Thank you.
Yeah. Somebody, lots of little head exploding emojis,
Yeah,
right?
I got a couple over here
Um,
too. Yeah.
Fargo is. I told you guys. I told you. Me and Pat on here together, and your brains won't be able to hold it. I mean, I got him on here for purely selfish reasons, really. But yeah, I'm glad somebody else is getting something out of it too. Fargo says the 48 Laws of Power is a book that may help you understand controlling all aspects of your life, holding oneself accountable for every mistake and win, as well as understanding what led to it.
I'll check it out for sure. I
Yeah.
always want to learn more about
Yeah, anytime
content
I
in new
get book
ways.
recommendations, especially if I get them from more than one place, I always go
Yeah.
check them out.
Thank you very
So,
much.
yeah, let me check the question bank here. A reminder down at the bottom, the question place there.
Where is it? Where are your questions? I've got a couple things that say messages. I see boxes up here flying back and forth. What is all this?
Down at the bottom, the very bottom row down there, you should have uh, the co-host button. You may
Yep.
have a couple of buttons and things down there, but there may be one that says either interact or Q&A.
Nope, I don't have that yet.
Okay, you may not have it yet.
Not yet. Soon. It's
Okay.
coming.
Soon,
Coming shortly.
soon. Do some more lives and
To
they'll
TikTok
give
near
you,
you. Yeah.
yes, do some more lives and they'll give you Q&A.
Yeah.
Because I didn't used to have it either. All
Okay.
right, so what else are we talking about? Any thoughts about deja vu?
Yep. But I mean, not rooted in any reality that most people would want to
No,
like
I think
understand.
it's just a memory loop in your
Yeah, well,
brain.
there's a gentleman by the name of Duncan Trussell, and it's actually part of like the tattoo that I have here, the infinity spiral, like the infinity loop. And so he basically was saying like, it depends on if you believe in or can align with like the infinite dimensions, infinite realities, infinite time loops. You've done this before, the veil of forgetfulness, all these cool things that people talk about as far as like your path may already be laid. This is just down the rabbit hole stuff. I'm not subscribing necessarily to any of this, but the idea where we're talking about non-doership, having full faith, like imagine this is a video game, right? And whatever part of you, your higher self or consciousness, is so aware of what you are, has already decided what you want to be and what you want to do. And so since it's already decided what you, the idea concept of I am of you, the Yahweh of you, wants to be and do, it has put you into a human, and this inside of this human you're going to forget who you are. You're going to forget how powerful you are. You're going to forget that you are essentially working with God itself and the powers of the universe to create itself. You're going to forget that for a period of time, and some human being who forgets that is going to go on the path of like what you call the law of opposites or the law of contrast, meaning in order to fully know who you are, you have to fully know who you are not. It's the only way. Like human beings need to learn by realizing like, oh, I don't like that, don't like that, don't like that. Then they find this thing you like and you're like, I love this. I know I love this because I've had the other stuff and I don't like that. So it's like burning the stove, right? What is it like? A young person comes and like goes to put their hand on the stove and the parents are like, stop it, it's hot, right? And you're like, it's hot. It's going to burn you. You know what hot is, right? And you're like, oh, we have to know for ourselves. This is our own journey. And then you touch the stove and you're like, shit, that's hot. I can't believe it. And then you don't touch the stove again. You don't touch it. So intellectually, this content is out there and people have been teaching it for thousands and thousands of years. Same stuff. Most of the stuff are going to be, it's so simple that you're like, I can't believe how simple that is. It's been around forever. But we need to go on a journey to realize who we're not so we can fully remember who we are. So let's just say that your soul knows that and also knows that it doesn't happen on the first round. So then it would create an infinite time loop of infinite dimensions and realities and possibilities that exist in the same moment so that every single choice you made would branch out to a different version of the reality that's already existed. And you either suffer inside of that reality because you doubt, or what is being ready to be done through you as you let go of the fear manifests itself on this infinite divinity-like timeline, right? So this guy Duncan Trussell has said it on like the Joe Rogan podcast a couple times, and he talks about this literal infinity loop. And he says, what if every time you were in a position in a moment to make a new choice of love or fear, or to do that thing that you have been like putting off, like Mark and I were saying, you're going to feel the fear, but will you make the choice through it? And instead of waiting for the perfect time or not being able to make the choice at all or making the choice from conditioned fear and going in the other direction in a different timeline, he says, what if every time you feel this emotional uprising from fear in that moment to take that next step towards the thing you really want to do, what if all that fear and all that emotion was all of the times in your infinite versions of your life and timeline where you didn't make that choice? That references all the fear pent up and built up, and you remember it, but you don't remember it. It feels like it's a branch off of deja vu. Like all that emotional uprising is everything from every version of your life and incarnation that has caused you and prevented you to make that choice. And you said, I don't care, I'm going to make it, and you jump. How many times do we have an example of making a choice through that fear, and then instantly our entire reality shifts, and it's like we have literally hopped timelines into a different dimension where that fear is no longer there. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that deja vu could be parts of us, if it is a real thing, or what we're talking about, would be parts of you, the idea that remembers a different part of a life that you lived, either in this body or another one, where the similarities of the lesson you needed to learn were just uncanny, and they're presenting themselves. The veil has been lifted for a period of time, and it looks and feels just like you've done this before. And maybe it's because you have, and that might be because you're being led closer to a choice that you need to make in order to shift to the timeline where your reality changes completely instead of living in another fear-based loop over and over and over until you make that choice through fear. That's what I think.
I love the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I
I mean, it could
dear,
all be bullshit too, but I don't know.
I, I find it fascinating. Well, that's the point I was coming to. Is
Yeah, I don't know.
I love going deep and weird and talking theory and deep,
Yeah,
weird,
but I don't know.
theoretical crap. But yeah, I don't find it very practical. It doesn't
Yeah,
help. It doesn't put a new car in my driveway. You know
it's
what I'm
just fun.
saying?
It's super fun because we don't know. No one's ever known, and there's something really exciting about
It's
this
interesting.
thing that
I
every
just
human has
figured it
been
all
here.
out.
Yeah,
I
every
know how
human's
the
been here,
universe
and no
works.
human has figured this out. Right. So there's something amazing about that. But
You know.
I don't. I have no idea.
So, on an easier question, somebody's asking,
Yeah.
what's our day job? I'm a trainer. I'm a corporate trainer for an insurance company. Do you have a day job?
This is what I do. I host a 6-week mentorship platform and program where people come to me to do both aspects of what we're talking about, to go back into the shadow and figure out the unconscious aspects of what keep them in their loops, and also to create and more deliberately identify what they want to do.
Wow.
And then I came from and still do. I own an entertainment company, a DJ company, where I do like events and weddings and things like that
Oh,
as
okay.
well. So I shifted from that into this, but I still do both.
Cool. Excellent. I used to work for an entertainment company as well, and
Perfect. You're perfect.
used to DJ
Of
and
course.
yeah, that kind of stuff. By the way, I'm up to 7,900 likes. We must be
Four
doing something right.
4.4K on my end.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'll
For a
take it. I
first
love all of you.
live.
And someone, Eternal Wonderland, said, "Welcome to TikTok," and I say thank you so much. Is it Nakia? So that was awesome. Oh my god. Like, love you
Okay.
guys so much.
So we've had this question a couple of times, and I hope the previous person that asked it is still here. Uh, what do you do when you're having a down day? What happens when you get in that funk? How do you get back up out of the funk? I hear that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I struggled with it for a while because spiritual ego is a real thing, and spiritual ego is the part of the ego that, again, is just there to label and claim identity. That would say, especially if you're listening to content like myself and Mark, then you understand so much of what we're talking about, that you probably also understand that there's a part of you that beats yourself up for not knowing, or beat yourself up for making a choice, or beat yourself up for having a down day. And then the judgment of having a down day perpetuates the energy of more of a bad day. And then now the ego is just using the spiritual side of you to beat you over the head with it, because it's at its last leg. All of the other reasons it used to beat you up, they're probably lessened quite a bit. So it's going to use the last thing it has, and that's your spiritual identity. It's going to beat you over the head with that and keep you in that bad state. So I used to fight that a lot until I realized this for myself. And the best answer that I found is to let it be. I let myself, you know what I mean, like, for a while, because to fight it is judgment of it, and it's there because it represents the energy of a part of you that
Mm,
is you have believed was bad at some point. So to say it's bad again as it tries to come out is going to perpetuate the loop, and you want to
yeah.
limit this loop. So I let it be. I'm very, very easy on myself, and I know that this too shall pass. So just like the amazing things in your life, we want them to never end. It's going to pass, and you're going to shift down. It's the flow of life. So what I find is important is, can you find, to the best you can, peace in the low end? Not happiness. That's not the goal, but peace. Can you find peace in the low end and know that this will pass? Be easy on yourself, and then you'll progress. I even think higher in the loop because you've released quite a bit of judgment. So I go through it often. People are like, "What? You guys must be
It,
perfect, right, Mark? You probably get that all the time. You're happy-go-lucky all the time. Everything's amazing. Everything's so
I
good.
I
Oh, oh, this is so great. Like, yeah, no.
sound effects. Yeah, I don't. I think that's one of the reasons people like my page, is that I quite often talk about the fact that I am not perfect, and things that
Yeah,
I have done in my past or continue to do.
yeah,
I'm on the journey just like everybody else, and
yeah,
yeah, we all get in a funk, we all get down, and you got to have night to have the day, you got to have rain to have the flowers, you got to have sadness to know the joy.
yeah,
You're right; it's a natural ebb and flow of life, and when we get stuck in it, you're absolutely hitting the nail on the head when you say it's judgment, it's self-judgment. uh, forgive yourself. Just forgive yourself. Whatever it
Yep.
was, whatever mistake or whatever led to that funk, just forgive yourself.
Yeah.
It, and then I like to dance to really loud music after that.
Boom.
That,
I love that.
uh,
Sometimes you got to shake, like
yeah,
tantric shaking. Just get your
right.
cells kind of. It'll reset. It'll reset
Yeah.
quite a bit of that.
Do
Um,
some lip sync into some AC/DC,
yeah,
or something.
I love it. There's
And
also something called. Have you ever heard of Ho'oponopono?
I have heard that word.
Yeah,
Remind
it's
me what that is.
so now again, ultimately again at the higher, what you would imagine the higher frequencies of consciousness, just like an affirmation, you don't need this. You're the one giving it power, but to an initial frequency of consciousness, like they're just kind of like still maybe stuck in the lower vibe of that fear and doubt and judgment. There's something called Ho'oponopono, and it's basically like a Hawaiian prayer. And it's four statements. There's a couple different ways that you can say it, but it's basically it's thank you, or yeah, I'm sorry, thank you, I love you, and there's a fourth one I can't remember. I haven't done it in quite a while. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Boom, there it is. So it's I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And basically what it is, there's a story about this doctor who went to this prison system, and like there were all these guards, and they were the worst people of humanity, and he did this prayer, again, take this or leave it, but apparently it's documented. He did this prayer on these people without ever even seeing them or touching them, and it worked so well in this outer intention aspect that the prison even like closed down, like they moved people to like a lesser system. But what I found for me, won't speak to that, but what I found for me is that when I was struggling in that part of like really that self-judgment aspect of it, I found that it really helped with a lot of the parts of me from my past that I hadn't forgiven yet. And I feel like, again, just like inner child work and shadow work, someone said, can you recommend a good book or source? Anything by Jung, anything by Carl Jung. I just basically learned quite a bit of what that idea of shadow work is. And then immediately I connected to it and was able to do it on my own. But that fear and judgment doesn't come from you in this current moment, and realizing that it's coming from a previous version that's arising now. So this Ho'opono prayer was powerful and getting me, and very emotional. I didn't realize how much I hadn't forgiven myself for many of the things that was stopping me from moving forward. I intellectually was like, I'm good with all that. I'm good with all that. I understand how this works. Everything happens for a reason. I'm okay. I'm good. I intellectually convinced myself so much that I had forgiven myself. And I came upon this prayer, and it was like, do your best you just have to say it over and over, over and over, over and over. And I remember the first time that I sat and I was like, the first thing is like, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And this is only to you. You're not asking for some external forgiveness. It's from you to you. I'm sorry, please forget. I couldn't get the word I'm sorry out. I
Wow.
broke down. And so that was like how far the gap was for me of what I was saying and how healed and fixed and spiritual I was, and how actually still broken I wasn't, but thought I was. So when
What
I
was it? I'm
what's that?
sorry.
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
What?
I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you, because the forgiveness is always granted. And then I love you. So it's literally like, 15-year-old me that was making terrible choices, say after, for me, my mother passed away when I was young, and I was making terrible choices and justifying those choices. And I was, just constantly like going deeper and deeper into ruining the path of ruining my life as I perceived it then. And I really had a deep self-loathing and a deep, deep, deep just regret for even being me or being here or not asking for any of this. And like it was a really, really thick packet to get through. But I intellectually had read so many books, hundreds of books, trying to find the answer, and spirituality and consciousness and religion and studying psychology, like just diving in to try to find the answer intellectually. And I had gained so much intellectual knowledge that I was able to be like, I get it. I'm forgiven. I'm the man. Like, yes, in the moment, Buddha, alignment, Jesus, I get it all. Like, we're God. All I get it. And it wasn't until I suffered enough by thinking I had it that this prayer came in, and I sat in a meditation. I do meditate often. I try to do it almost every day, and it's just because I enjoy it. that I said, okay, I was like, okay, I got this. I'm like, all right, here we go. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And I just started erupting. I was like, oh shit. I was like, I guess I hadn't released anything. The ego wants you to be like, oh, you've done it. Good work. While the energy is still inside
I've
of you.
I've done
So
that.
it's that dark
Mhm.
night of the soul that's waiting for the release without judgment so that you can move lighter through it. And that helped me tremendously. So all of those things that's what I kind of do and teach and work with people and myself still through shadow work, and any of those references or content or books will help you.
I'm gonna have to do that. I think I'm gonna have
It's
to give that one a
it's
shot because
really
I do that a
powerful.
lot too. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I understand that, and yeah, okay, like you said, intellectually, you think
Yeah.
you've dealt with it, but
Yeah.
yeah, no,
I
there's
found out
there's
quick
still
that
some
I had
emotion
not.
in
Yeah.
there that needs to
Yeah.
come out.
Yeah.
What do you do if you realize you're repeating something? Learn the lesson so you can stop repeating it. There's something
Right.
there for you to learn.
Yeah, dive into why it's happening, and that's the thing, is the reason it repeats is because you won't ask yourself why it's actually happening. You have a story about why it's happening, but that's not the real reason. Below that story, infinite reason, like why do I keep losing all my money to this and that? Well, because so and so gave me a bad investment tip, or because my car broke down and I blah 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 blah. Like in reality, it's like, no, Pat, you think you're worthless and you use money as a vehicle to get validation and acceptance and love from others. Like, oh, fuck, that's right. Yeah, that's it. That's the one. So, like, underneath all of the surface level answers you give about why these things are happening to you, you'll start to realize that they're actually happening for you, even though it doesn't appear to be because it's suffering. But it's happening for you. So you'll ask the questions finally to get to the answer that you're finally brave enough to reveal so that you can move on from it.
Yeah. Somebody else asked, I'm stuck in a loop that I've been wanting out of. Can you help? Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the loop? There's a lesson there for you to learn. You need to
Yeah.
look at what's happening and ask yourself, why is this happening? What is, what validation are you looking for? What challenge are you not accepting? What's going on there that's leading
Yeah.
you to what realization that you're not accepting?
Yeah.
Right. Pat, can you recommend books, resources for shadow work? You mentioned Carl Jung. By the
Yeah.
way, Jung is spelled Jung.
Mm-hmm.
Jung. Carl Jung is psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that you could recommend there, or just
That's all.
that?
That's literally, here's the beautiful thing, and shadow work is something where, and this was just my experience, so I can't even speak to another person's experience. But once you understand the concept of what the shadow represents, because this is another thing that I mean, you can do anything you want or Google it, but I want to kind of not guide you. I want to offer you the guidance that I took for myself, because I realized that my spiritual ego also was searching for tons of content on shadow and how to do it the best and everything. And I'm just telling you, as sincerely as I can, once you realize what the idea of shadow work is, and every human being comes here programmed with the understanding of what it is, it's any single part of you that you have ever denied, pushed down, blocked, judged, thought wasn't good enough, and you pushed that down and removed it out of the way of your reality, and then put up a character in the world, most likely the opposite of what that character that you pushed down was, and that creates and persists in a lot of chaos in your life. So when you realize that there's an aspect of you hidden in the shadow of your subconscious that we need to shine the light of our consciousness on with love instead of judgment. It doesn't matter how many books you read. It doesn't matter how deep you can go into a rabbit hole. But I found that none of that is helpful, because it all keeps you from doing the work. You just, I need another book to figure out how to release my shadow. You release your shadow by finally admitting that it's there, and by finally writing out what it's saying over and over and over again. Oh, the one thing that I would say about shadow work, I just did a video, I think on TikTok, about the unconscious critic. And it's essentially what you do. I think I took the paper and threw it away, but um, your shadow is at work right now, shouting shit at you and yelling at you and screaming at you and saying you're not good enough and why do you do this and what's this going to happen and blah blah. None of that is you. You're observing it. So if you're observing it, it cannot be you. So the idea is, where was it created? where did this part of you, what, were you not picked on the playground when you were 4? Did somebody leave you in your ninth grade? It sounds so crazy to think about it, but imagine some of the trauma that comes from a young child human being walking around in the world that, like, the two people in their lives that should love them don't. Like, imagine not understanding that how powerful you are because you can't yet, and then now seeking love and validation in the world because you think you're incomplete or you're not worthy or you need to dance a certain way to get somebody to say you're good. Like, that is all representative of you not yet knowing how powerful you are. So when you hit to the point where you've suffered enough by not realizing who you are, then all of those layers come off and the shadow will want to be revealed and it'll come out in your behaviors and your thoughts and in your actions. So just realizing that you can go literally back in time in your consciousness to the spaces and places where you suffered the most in your life and have a new dialogue with that version of you that struggled and suffered, because it's still suffering perpetually inside of you. If again, I think we talked about this earlier, Mark. If something happened to you 10 years ago and you think about it now, a breakup or something that you deemed terrible, your brain and body do not know that it's 10 years ago. It has no concept of time, your consciousness. So what it does is it recreates that now in this experience. So that means that if I haven't healed and resolved 10-year-old years ago me, who was in this relationship or allowed somebody to treat me this way, if I haven't resolved that version of me, but I think I have intellectually, have moved on, that person is still here in my thoughts and in my actions and in my behaviors, pulling the strings, still trying to get love from people and putting in relationships where it looks like somebody's going to give that to me. And then they either give it to me and it's not enough because how could it ever be? Or they don't give it and I keep chasing after it. It's designed that way so that you can go into the versions of you that are suffering and reform the relationship and be like, hey, I'm the person you've been looking for. I know we went out in the world to try to find this and the world gave us a lot of evidence that it's not there. But I'm the one that is now here for you. And we need no one else to do this. You don't need anyone else to forgive you or to forgive. And you get this ho'oponopono. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we had to go through that. I'm sorry that you had to suffer. I'm so sorry. Forgive me for not being aware that we had to do this. I wasn't aware of how powerful we are. I wasn't aware of who you truly are. And I'm sorry you've been suffering this long at this degree. But I'm here now. That suffering created me. And I believe in me and trust me now. And you might not trust me yet, but we're going to make some choices and we're going to trust each other. And this process of reintegrating the shadow into your life will dissipate the conditioned responses that you used to have from those versions of you that are trying to get you to get love. You're having a different dialogue with those shadow experiences and you'll move into this world. And if you want to talk about manifesting, what happens when you are in alignment with the shadow versions that have been stopping you from getting what you want? I don't know if you can put any of those little mind blow emojis in, but that's what happens. Your reality will actually shift.
Can I have my soul back now?
Yes, you can. That's the beautiful part. That's the beautiful part. You absolutely can.
As you were saying all of that, I was in my mind marching back through some very specific instances of the way my grandmother used to treat me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, just the whole thing about repressing who you know you are, or you know who you're supposed to be,
Yep.
right? I've said it several times on my channel. It's like I've been running away from who I am for 45 years, and
Yeah.
I like to think that I'm here now, but I don't think all of me quite is just yet, even.
Wow, that was really
But
well said. That was really well said. Yes. Yes.
but we're getting there,
Yeah, getting there.
and yeah, I just thought of a specific instance that was, yeah, that I'm gonna have to ponder a little bit, and I'm gonna have to do that on,
Yeah. It's all reality altering.
yeah, release myself from that.
That's it.
My grandmother has been dead for, I don't know, 10, 15, 20, 15 years, 17 years.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to please her.
Right. Yes. There's and this is perfect. when you realize that you're aware of a part of you from 10, 15 years ago or from your life that is still trying to please her, it's not you. You can release ownership of you in this moment being the one who's trying to please her. Like, there's a release in that. So now it's who is, what version of me, what does it look like? What was I, what happened to make me shift in this way? And then you go back to like what I'll call like an origin event. One of the more, you don't have to do all of them, which is a beautiful thing. Some people are like, oh my God, so many times did this woman do that. Like, no, you don't pick the one that is, the most prevalent in your mind and go back to that experience. And, first, this I'll just share with you. Like the first thing that I would recommend, or that I believe you should do, is observe the event without interacting or intervening. Don't try to stop the event from happening necessarily, right? Like if, say, she was really abusive to you, or she really just, maybe she was amazing to you, but like you didn't feel worthy of it. Whatever the story is, subjectively for whoever's listening, let that situation that really bothered you, or that event, play out to the point where the person leaves the room, but you're still in the room. And then you get into like, you want to make sure there's no distractions, no disruptions, and you really want to allow yourself as you are now, the one who is not trying to please grandma or anyone else, the one who has fully, to the best you can, aligned with who you are, walk over to that version of you that's still there and get your attention and I know it sounds wild, but I'm okay. It's okay. Have you from then in this conscious moment articulate all of the reasons why you felt the need to get admiration or love or trust or feel validated in some way, or just to be seen. Let you speak, because the problem is we haven't let ourselves speak because we've deemed ourselves to be bad, and we punished ourselves to the depths of the shadow basement. So when you can say, I'm here for you, listen, I got it, go for it, speak, tell me whatever you got. And then as you feel, because it's you, that you're done, then you form a new relationship with that version of you. And then this is the most important part, form an agreement with that version of you. So the one that's meaning like, don't just let it be abstract, like, okay, we're good, right? Okay, go. Like, hey, we're good, right? Like, you're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to do this anymore. The choices that I've been making unconsciously that you were behind the scenes of, because you're still seeing everyone as grandma, we're not going to do that, right? Like, we are the source of love, and we're going to let that flow through us to other people. Do I have your agreement? Like, I'm going to build trust with you together. Like, you're literally going to see yourself, give yourself permission to move on from yourself. And you don't leave it in the basement. It kind of comes up and becomes integrated. And instead of something you run from and something you distract yourself from, or something you're constantly like moving things around, you're now not scared of it. And it is there for you to confer with. And it's data now. And it is like, hey, what did we used to do when we did this? How do we treat, what do we do here? Like, okay. Like, you're literally having different conversations with different versions of you, because you are so many different versions. It's unbelievable. So in this timeline, you're really asking to combine and integrate all of the versions of you so that you could be your fullest in the moment with no fear, no doubt. And again, no fear, no doubt, always fear and doubt, but no recognition of you being identified with fear and doubt. So you can watch what plays out as it plays out, choosing love and your path and purpose in the moment, so that you are acting in alignment, and then hopefully you're inspiring other people.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got
No?
you now.
No?
Yeah, yeah.
You got
No.
me now?
Oh,
Still no.
it's really delayed.
I had a call come in and I just deleted it.
Oh, your sound is now really delayed from your mouth.
Mm. Yeah, I'll just say I had a call come in.
Yeah, you're
So I don't
connected
know.
now. You're good. You're good.
Now I'm good?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a call come in and I've never had that happen. So I just deleted it, and there we go.
Oh, that yeah, I feel like I just had a therapy session.
Yeah, it feels like what most people think that is.
There's
Yeah, for
there's
sure.
a yeah, there's a particular previous version of me that I need to have that conversation with.
Yeah. And once you do, there's, yeah, once you do, it's all love, and it's all because again, this is a manifestation themed. The part, like, it just ties in beautifully at the beginning. We're saying you're always manifesting. The question is, what are you manifesting and why? So manifestation isn't just the thing you want that you see. It can be, and it will be, once we realize that there's 10-year-old version of me that's pulling the scenes, creating things I don't want to see, so that I will ask questions about why it's there. And at the root of why this thing that I don't want is there is a little me from 10 years ago that's like, dude. And then that's the one you have the conversation with. And then those things will dissipate. The unwanted, there will be less. And you will walk there. It doesn't mean there still isn't contrast. It doesn't mean there isn't things that are going to be doing this for however long. But you can find peace in those moments when it starts to dive into the part where there's a lesson to be learned or something to let go of. You're not so scared anymore. You can be like, all right, you guys ready? like let's go, and try to find peace through that. And the more you do that, the trust and faith and love that you connect with that's not out there, but is just inherent inside of you, is emotionally overwhelming, to say the least.
Yeah, I can clearly see where this particular version of me and this particular incident I'm thinking of would lead to some of the things that I do now. This constant need for having everybody like me. Even though intellectually I know that's not going to happen, I'm going to make a TikTok. Not everybody's going to like it. Some people are going to get on there. They're going to disagree with what I've said. And,
Sure.
I tell myself I'm okay with that, but really I haven't been, because I'll go on there and I'll try to convince them. It's like, no, but don't you
Right.
understand? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, they're not going to be convinced. And
Right. And
I'm wasting my time and energy just trying to get them to approve of
right.
me.
Yep.
And it's really not even them I'm trying to get to approve of me. It's my grandmother.
1,000,000,000%.
Yeah.
1,000,000,000%. And she was just the source in the story to allow you to realize that there will never be enough grandma's love or validation. There will never be enough love from a spouse. So when I speak on these, platforms, and I say it's never the thing, it's not the thing. What is the thing pointing to? It's not this new relationship that you want if you think you need it. You know what I mean? It's what part of you thinks that you need this thing to be complete in some way that you don't believe you're already complete. So bringing the new person in without realizing that could sabotage the new person, right? Because there's going to be this unconscious conversation happening between both of you. Remember, the other human being is doing this also. There's something in you that is mirroring something in them, and that's what's bringing you together. That's that like attracts like part that people are like, no, opposites attract. It doesn't matter personality-wise what's happening. Under the surface, what is happening to bring you guys together to represent the lesson you both need to learn of completion within yourself. And then when two humans have realized to the best that they can how complete they are, then you're dealing in a situation where a human can be their best selves without the need or validation from others because they've given it to themselves, aligned with someone else who's working on doing the same thing. And now you're progressively not relying on each other or giving each other responsibility for you to be happy. You're taking ownership of your happiness and responsibility within yourself, which allows you to be the best version of yourself that you can be in that moment, allowing the other person their grace to be the best version of them. And you're just constantly kind of evolving back and forth. You can use that with anything and everything you're trying to bring to you. You want it to be a harmonious relationship with money. You want it to be a harmonious relationship with a human. You want it to be a harmonious relationship with this item or this thing or this achievement or this goal. A harmonious thing. And that is what will bring these things to you. I will say quicker in human talk, quicker, but also you will enjoy the ride more. You'll put the GPS data input in there for what you want or the essence of it, and you trust the process so much with these other versions of you that aren't beating you over the head unconsciously on board, and you could kind of like shake it and like look around and be like, this is not a bad place. This is great. Once you get out of the lens of your story, like once you climb out of that lens of the matrix of your mind that's been conditioned to believe this or that you need these things, it's not a bad place. It's not a bad place.
There's a lady here on my side, Ruby Blue Eyes, and Ruby, I hope you're still here.
Hi, Ruby.
She was the one the second one I mentioned that was stuck in a cycle. It was a death of, I believe she said, her son. and she says every November 19th to February 17th, uh, she goes into this cycle of
Yeah.
I know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
It happens every Mother's Day for me because my mom passed away
Yeah.
the Thursday before the Sunday of Mother's Day. So every year, that 1 week of May, I turn into this real butthead, and I can never figure out why until
So
after Mother's
funny.
Day, and I'm like, oh, it was Mother's Day. That's why,
So
right?
funny.
Yeah.
So similarly, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, so she's what she's saying here is that she needs to work with you. So Ruby, if you
Yeah.
don't follow him, make sure that you do. You should be able to see his username there on the screen.
Yeah,
Uh,
message me if you can, and I'll because I do understand similarly, and of course, no coincidence. April 19th, my mother passed away when I was 15 years old. So I similarly would go through, and for like the week before, and it's happening now because here we are. But like
right.
I would unconsciously the week before, 2 weeks before, I would just turn into like I was just completely a different person. So we're talking about like loops and patterns and body recognition, right? Like conscious cellular recognition of things that we have long since not been a part of in our world, right? This happened, I'm 44
Hmm.
now, and this happened when I was 15. But up until recently, I was just living these things, and it was just, and then all of a sudden it would be like 2 or 3 days before, and my sister would reach out and be like, "We're going here for mommy's something," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like it is so ingrained in us, so many things. And the one thing I'll say is that when it comes to loss, as far as like the grievances of losing a human versus like trying to manifest your partner or do like they are, it is a different category, as you well know. It's a different category to heal through something which the mind cannot possibly understand, which is the idea of, and again, this calls into question whatever belief systems you have, which we have to work with subjectively with you. But so for me, when my mom passed away, because of how she suffered, I had no belief in a greater anything. How could you? I went to Catholic school my whole life, studied the Bible, blah blah, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. So my mind trying to rationalize why this was happening wasn't going to happen. I had to come up with my own understanding of what infinity is, of what a higher version of myself or a greater thing that I can't understand. I had to surrender to the fact that I couldn't possibly know why this happened, you know, instead of fighting it. So this was like a process that's was different for me to heal that. And I realized for myself that once I did this process and once I found out for me how to make it make sense, I was more grateful for her for the time that I had her and all that she showed me and the love that I got from her and the lessons I've learned. I was finally making a shift from being more grateful for the time I had with her, even though it was short in my mind, than the one day that I lost her. I beat myself and the universe and my experience and my life over the head for 20 some odd years because I was so angry that one day she left instead of acknowledging how many beautiful days I had in between and realizing that, again, down the rabbit hole, time's not real. And while physical cells and particles and bodies and are born in entropy and they're entropied, the idea of who this person is, and even if you're not aligned with what I'm saying yet, you can take that person with you as well. So just like you can go back and heal a version of you that is struggling or suffering, you can go back to an amazing moment in your life with a person that is no longer physically here and feel them. And there's a way to get to that point, and it makes it, for me, it makes it a tremendous amount better.
Yeah. There's a book by, do you know Dr. DeMartini?
Ooh, I don't know, not by name, but I got my
Dr.
pen here.
DeMartini. Oh gosh, what's the book? It has the word gratitude in the title, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. He talks about what people represent to us in our lives, and when they
Mm,
pass away, that um, what they were to us and for us, although their physical body is not here anymore, what they were to us, what they provided to us in our lives, is shifted to another source. And in recognizing that, and recognizing that that energy is still with us,
I love
is
that.
very comforting,
I
right?
love that. I'm absolutely going to look into that. DeMartini.
Yeah. DiMartini. I think it's Dimartini.
I love it. I love it.
Tall, skinny guy. He's a chiropractor. He tells some really amazing stories about chiropractics too, and some healings and things that he's done through
The
that.
energy release from
It just,
movement.
just, you just have to read.
I'll read it. I'll yeah. I won't. I won't.
I
I won't
can't.
push.
I don't want
I
to
won't
spoil
push.
it for you.
Yeah. No. I'll read it. I'll read
You
it. I'll
know,
definitely read it.
just things that medical doctors said couldn't be healed being healed.
Right. Right. Right.
Uh,
Right.
that kind of thing. So yeah, Ruby's definitely going to be reaching out to you if she
Yeah.
hasn't
I'm
already.
here for you. Please, definitely.
Um,
I'm grateful.
I think I watched this in a different timeline, learning about shadow work, but here I am again.
There you go. Deja vu reference. Synchronicity.
All right. I don't have anything else on my side. You got
No,
anything
I'm
on
all
your
set.
side?
Ruby was my last comment over
Okay.
here.
Somebody's commenting, Dr. DiMartini is amazing. I went to a couple of his conferences and they were life
Mm,
altering. Raimacho, what's up, buddy? Just getting here. We've been here 2 hours. Where you
yeah.
been? Dr. DiMartini is not cheap. He is heinously expensive.
Yeah.
But he talks about one of the stories he tells is his wife passes away, and then uh, as she's dying, they have conversations and whatnot, and she tells him, go find another. I think he called her his star girl. I forget the reason why that was, but uh, he calls her his star girl, and she says, you'll be okay. You go find another star girl.
Yeah.
And he's doing an event, and it's after the event, and he's signing books, and this woman comes up to the table, and he goes to sign the book, and he says, "What's your name?" And she says, "Star." He says,
Yeah.
"Yeah, you're going to stand over here. I'm going to need to talk to you here in a little bit."
I
And
love it. I love
they
them.
start dating, and it turns out that she, with a previous person that she was with, used to travel in a lot of the same circles that he and his former wife traveled in, and it was kind of a circuit that they traveled around the world,
Mm,
and they had shopped in a lot of the same stores and a lot of whatever, and so they went. He has multiple homes, of course, and so they went to one of these places where his dead wife's clothes still were in the closet, and the new star goes in there to put her clothes in the closet, and she opens the closet to find a lot of the same clothes.
oh wow.
But and yeah, it's just the amount of synchronicity between his previous wife and this woman that he met just was astounding. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
one tiny sliver of this book that I'm telling you
I'm
about.
definitely. I'm gonna order this book
So
up the second we get off here.
yeah. Um, yeah, I can text you the name of the book.
Yeah.
There's a couple
Please.
of them that we've read that have been really good. The
Yeah.
gratitude effect, derp. There it is. Somebody, DiMartini, Dimartini, the gratitude effect. Of course. Thank you.
Right. Of course it would be. I
Uh,
love it.
hey, Tony. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I got people coming in. This happens, without looking.
Uh huh.
How long do you think we've been on here?
All right. Hang on. Let's see here. Without looking, now 1 hour, or no, 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Cheater. 2 hours.
I'm looking over here.
2 hours. See, but to me, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like
No,
15
this one
minutes.
for me. This one real. This is amazing. If this is what like lives, if this is what I can expect as I grow on here, this is my
Oh,
favorite thing
hell
I've
yeah.
done so far.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
love going live because these people come on here and they ask questions and we end up
Yeah.
talking about stuff. And yeah, the time just flies by. I
Yeah.
mean, on a Sunday
Absolutely.
afternoon, I'm usually on here on Sundays at 2,
Yeah.
and I'll be on here 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like the only
This is
reason I
great.
finally quit is because my voice is giving out or I got to pee so bad I'm
Yeah.
about to pee my
Ah,
pants, right?
right.
Right? Yeah, bring the water next time. Bring the water, bring the notepad.
Yeah. I'll be
Uh,
prepared for sure. I learned a lot.
This has been amazing. Not that I'm calling it a day. I mean, I don't know what you got to do, but or how
Yeah,
long
no,
you had planned on staying on here. If you're good, I'm good.
I'm good here till till 5:30. I have another 30 minutes if there's still people here. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
You're
5:30 my time.
you're Eastern
It's
time
5.
zone. Okay.
Yeah, I'm Eastern.
So we'll let everybody know now. We got 30 minutes and then we're done. Okay, 30 minutes. So get your questions in here. All right. Let's see. You guys are welcome. I'm trying. Oh, I gotta stop saying that word. I hate that word. I've transformed one of my YouTube channels into a Recalculator channel, and I cleared everything, the old crap that was on there that I don't need anymore.
Nice.
I'm going to get my lives, as I understand it, I can get my lives off of here and put them on the YouTube channel, and so I'm going to do that. I'll start with this one because this has been freaking great.
I was gonna ask you if these
Uh,
save.
they are saved as far as I know, I think. At least the data from it is. I believe the recording itself is also
Yeah.
saved. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'm
We'll
definitely
find
gonna be
out,
missing some buttons because I'm new, but I think that in time,
right?
yeah, there's some buttons, but that's
There's there's so much on here that you can do.
yeah.
All right. A lot of the people that follow me are European too, so it's like
Hmm.
10, 11 o'clock at night, which is why I do a Sunday afternoon one.
Oh,
Because if
love
I do
that.
weekday evenings, they can't get on it. Um,
You're awesome.
so
Thank you.
yeah, Sakura Cool, we're just talking about getting this posted to YouTube. I'll let you know if I get that to happen. Since I'm an insurance trainer, you've sold insurance yourself since yeah, I think everybody's worked in insurance at some point.
Some
All
point.
right. Learn some new thinking. A lot of people expressing gratitude. So happy and glad that they found the live today. Uh, we've really covered a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. This has been deep. This has been awesome for me too. I mean, those couple of times that you just have like ripped my soul from my body and like waved it around and said, "Here's Mark's soul. Everybody look. Here you
That's
go.
my favorite thing to
All
do.
right.
Yeah.
And you can have it back now.
It's my
Thank
favorite
you."
thing to do.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best to figure out how to get this to YouTube. I'm pretty sure that TikTok records these, that these are available.
Yes,
Um,
Eternal Wonderland um, wrote, yes, go to settings, and there's an ID or a live center.
there is a live center, and you go to the live center, and all your lives are there. And I just opened up TikTok on my computer, and it said it was processing video, but I've got like 12 lives on there, so it's going to take about a million years.
And she's,
And then I assume once it gets
said, yep.
done doing that, that I could do something with that video. So, all right.
So freaking awesome.
Yeah, people are telling me they missed part of the beginning and they want to see the whole thing. And yeah, the whole thing has been amazing just from minute one. Um, and Ruby says we've given her hope.
Oh,
She's got to
that's
go, but she says thank you.
love
All
you,
right.
Ruby.
More advice for manifesting.
Of
Getting
course.
back to manifest. And by the
Of
way, we're up
course.
to here's a little shot for the ego. 12,400 likes. Thank you very much.
I'm at 5.7K.
Wow.
I feel like that's really
For a
good for
for your
being
first
here for a
live.
week.
For your
Yeah.
first, how many people do you have?
It's going anywhere from 3 to 20.
Okay, that's where I was about when I had about 1,000 when I first started. It was, anywhere between 3 and 20.
Yeah.
I've got 40 over here, which has been hovering around 40 all day. You'll
Yeah.
find that people come in anywhere from 30 seconds to 6 minutes will be the average. When you get done,
Okay. Yeah.
right when we get done, there'll be some stats available for you. Look at those. It'll tell you how many people were here, how long they stayed, who they were, who watched you the longest, blah, blah, blah,
Oh
all that
wow, I
stuff.
love that.
Any gifts they gave you? Um,
Any what?
Gifts? They can give you gifts. Have you seen like things pop up on the screen, little like flowers or presents or
Tons of little
some,
boxes.
huh?
Tons of little boxes.
Okay, little boxes. There you go. Those are gifts. That's actually money.
What?
Yeah, people are giving you tips. They're giving you gifts. They're spending real money to buy coins, using their coins to buy gifts, and then giving you those gifts, which turns into real money for you.
Well, that's not something I understood. I am very grateful for that. I was like, what are these things that are popping up? And it was
First
always,
time, it's like, I got these little things popping up. What is that?
that is
Uh,
amazing. Yeah, it was
yeah.
always towards like I thought I was almost doing something wrong because it was always like when I was like kind of like just going and going and going, and I'm like, all these boxes. I'm like, I feel like I need to write somebody and figure out what that
Yeah.
is.
You need to tell them thank you.
Everyone's laughing.
I have a request here. We
Yeah.
have to say hello to Ella. Ella is listening with her mom, and apparently they're listening together. And
Hello,
request
Ella.
that we say, "Hey, Ella,
Hello,
what's
Ella. We're
happening, Ella? Hope you're
grateful you are
enjoying
here.
things." Yeah. Uh,
I'm
Shout
watching
out
people
from you
laughing at me over here because I don't know.
because you don't know
I
about gifts.
don't know anything. They're just laughing. Yeah.
Well, I'll just give them
Uh,
a blanket thank you now. All right.
yes. Thank you to everyone.
Spirit guides, what's your take?
I mean, it's tricky. What do you think? I'll let you go first this one.
One of those things that I will tell you this story of my past. When I was a
Please.
child,
I love it.
um, it used to be up behind me, so it was easy to show you. But that clock, you see that clock that's on top of that china cabinet right there?
Yeah.
That belonged to my great grandmother. And when I was a child, that clock, only my father could start it. And it would only run sitting in one place in our house on the mantle of the fireplace. And if anybody started it except my father, it would run for about a minute and stop. He was the only one that could start it, and it would stay running
Huh.
because it was his great grandmother's clock. And when I was a child, from the time that clock came into our home, I felt this presence, like right here up over my right shoulder. Uh, And I kind of knew somehow that it was my great grandmother that belonged to that clock.
Yeah.
And I could feel her almost all the time there with me. That stopped my teen years, right? When I started moving away
Yeah.
from my mom used to consider herself quite psychic. She took me to a psychic. The psychic told me I was psychic. And told me a bunch of other stuff too.
Yeah.
And I embraced that for a while, but then, you kind of move away from that. People
Yeah.
think you're weird and stuff. So now I'm moving back toward that as I come to all of this and becoming my authentic self again, finally, after 45 years.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually starting to, from time to time, feel that presence again, like I feel it right now, because I'm talking about her. And when I got this rock, what we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
and my understanding that this would help you, get with your spirit guides too. Uh, I kind of felt that. So whether there's actual spirit guides there, or that's aspects of yourself, or what is it to it, I'm gonna go with 75-25. I'm for the spirit guides.
Yeah. I think that, and again, this is for me, like, this is going to go down to like in the Kabbalion or like into any of the like really, really old teachings when they say, or when I say like, there's no one else in the room, meaning like the infinite I am, right? The observer consciousness that we all are that piece of.
Yeah,
We're all that same, I believe. This is just, I believe that I am that references me, the character of Pat Mahan, is the same I am, the Yahweh they speak of, and you know what I mean, the Old Text, like as it's the same I am, that blank space of consciousness that observes you and the character of you, right? We all have our own version of this. So when in meditation, when you move the character out of the way, you really can connect to that awareness. You really can connect to that silent space. So I think that the best way that I found it is that it does appear to be both like paradoxical in nature, meaning like if you believe and understand that it's all the same I am, then of course anything that would be referenced as a spirit guide or an angel or a guardian or anything like that, it would be an aspect of the singular, right? The singularity,
right.
the I am. but there is a component that references a very specific maybe force or presence or maybe a previous human, and that is equally true and real, and I believe in them incessantly.
I like how
Personally.
you think about that. It could be, the infinite intelligence that people talk about, that that source intelligence that we're all a part of. It's kind of like the human brain version of the internet, right?
Yes.
There's this portion of us that can connect on this highway that connects with literally every other brain on the planet,
Yep.
that combines for this infinite intelligence, right?
Right.
You
The
have
collective
literally
consciousness,
access
if
to
you will. Right.
everybody else's collective mind.
Correct. Yep.
And so are these spirit guides like actual dead people that are haunting me and leading my life? Or am I just accessing, other
There's
consciousnesses through
I've
the.
heard two theories. I mean, I choose to I think or allow thought interestingly on that one. But like imagine like just using your exact example, right? So there's an internet which is unseen, right? All power. It's just we don't. So imagine that technology is mimicking reality, right? So it's a very similar concept. We have physical devices here, right? We have I'm using a phone. I have a computer here. Like there's physical devices here. We are a physical device, our body, and then there's a non-physical aspect of it that we're going to call the internet. And the internet is anything and everything that exists data inside of like this collective mind. You can't see it, can't feel it, can't touch it, yet it exists on different frequencies and different wavelengths that communicate with these physical devices, and we can access and tune in and like a radio do things and get different stations into our physical body. So does the internet exist inside of the physical phone? No, it doesn't. But the phone accesses the internet while it is plugged into a source we're going to call life. So if you imagine that all human beings have access to the same universal grid matrix of intelligence that is available to you. And the only thing preventing you from accessing the full greatness of what that is how vibrationally sound your vessel is through your belief systems, and the cloud of the mind that says you can or can't. That's the cost of entry. If you don't believe that you can connect, and you believe that it's all being generated from the brain, and you believe that this is it, and it's I'm dead when I'm dead, and it's gone, and everything like that. Maybe I don't know the answer, but the way I choose to believe in this is that this is literally an antenna. We're an antenna, and everything and everyone who has ever existed before us equally was their version of an antenna, and they had their own essence. There's no denying, even through awareness, that there is some essence that your grandma had, that my mom had, that Ruby's son had. There's an essence of that human. So I would think, whoa, and I just got goosebumps now. So I would think that there is a part of this collective intelligence that so knows what we need, or so knows the guidance that we're like looking to be a part of us, that it would use the essence of someone who has passed as a spirit guide to come into our space and make us feel a certain way, think a certain thing, make a like to get us to see certain things. And I like to view that as what I call a spirit guide.
Okay.
You know?
I like that
Like
explanation.
yeah. Someone
I
just
like
wrote
that
here,
a lot.
belief system equal says I love that explanation. Belief system equal your router strength. Yep. That's awesome. That's
Somebody
awesome.
somebody said I need a priest because my great grandmother
Yeah,
was
you're
with
your
me.
own priest. You can
Yeah.
do it yourself.
Somebody's saying Michael Jackson recorded a song at 3 a.m. because he said if he didn't, Prince would.
Ooh, really?
Yeah. Hey, how about this? Everybody can relate to this. How many times have you had an idea for something
Hmm.
and you didn't act on it, and within a very short time, that item comes onto the market?
Right. It exists in the collective.
Coincidence? I think
Right.
not.
It exists in the collective consciousness who tapped into that frequency of it. So just like the song, anyone who's like
Right?
a musician or understands music, however many chords there are, however many, right, there's only so many notes. So basically, all songs that could ever be written are already written because there's only so many notes to organize. So that means that what is it? John Lennon said like believe. He wrote it in 4 seconds, and he dreamt the song or Imagine. He dreamt the song Imagine. Woke up and then like wrote it out. Like
Yeah.
that came to him. He tapped into that. He was literally asleep. He could take no ownership of it. He's like, it came to me in a dream. I woke up at whatever time and I wrote it down. So even if there is one example of that being real, you kind of have to assume that that's how it works unless we're blocked to thinking that way. So yeah, I
Right.
think that it all exists. What do you want? Going back to manifestation, it all exists already. What do you want? And it's not about it coming to you as much as it is
Right.
about you aligning to it.
You when you say it already exists, I mean you're right. My new car that I bought, it already existed.
Right,
All I had to do was get me and it in the same time and space.
right,
And
right.
everything you want, everything how you want it already exists. You're not
Yeah,
creating anything. You're just
right.
bringing yourself together with it.
Do you know the
Um,
Ford story, the eight-cylinder Ford story,
oh yeah.
where Henry
Henry
Ford,
Ford said, I will have this. And the
I will
engineer
have it.
said, no, 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 it's not possible. Took 2 years and they figured it out. Yeah, the
Figured,
single casting 8-cylinder engine block.
yeah.
Yeah, he spent a lot of
Smartest
time and
people in the
money.
world said
Yeah,
no. Smartest people in the world said no. And
yeah,
he's like,
nope,
yep, we're gonna
not
have
going to
it.
happen. Um, I mean, so many things like that you can point to. What's his name? The 4 Minute Mile guy. Who am I thinking of?
Bannerman.
Bannerman. No, it's not Bannerman.
It's something like that. It's just
Ah,
Bannister.
come on, help us
Bannister.
out, people. Somebody knows the
Who
four
is
minute
it?
mile guy. Every doctor,
I thought it
every
was Roger
Roger Bannister.
Bannister.
Bannister. Roger Bannister.
Yep.
Every doctor, every physiologist, every expert of every kind said a human being is not built. Our lungs can't do it. Our muscles can't do it. It cannot be done. You cannot run a mile in under 4 minutes. And everybody believed it. For centuries, it did not happen. And Roger Bannister chose to believe in Roger Bannister instead of the experts. And he did it at the Olympics. He broke the 4 minute mile. And within
Yep.
6 months, like 12 or 13 other people did it because now it wasn't impossible anymore. Now it
Right.
was possible.
Yep. So ask yourself, how important is that story in your life if you're relying on other people to be the reason or the catalyst or the validation for you saying you can or can't do something? It's
Right?
really it's an internal game.
Somebody over here says, or Nakia says, I feel like I'm supposed to be paying for this. That's a compliment because
Yes.
the
Yes.
information is so valuable. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Love it.
We'll take that
Love
as
it.
a compliment.
Glad to be here.
Um, let's see. Oh, and thank you for the gifts. I got a rose. Um, thoughts on manifesting physical changes that would otherwise be impossible.
Physical changes such as like of the body.
I get people all the time ask me, can I make myself taller? Can I change the shape of my nose? Can I, physical, like bodily change? I mean, and then people are like, can you heal yourself of
Yes. Any
disease?
any answer to can you heal yourself? I
Is
believe is
yes.
possible. I believe the
It's
answer is yes. Yep.
probably your fault you're sick in the first place.
Right. Yeah, and then people don't like to hear that either. But
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
dis-ease is created from dis-ease.
Yeah, no, they don't want to hear that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, as far as physical manifestation, I mean, there's a couple different ways to look at that, and then we could go down the rabbit hole again and say that in some infinite reality, there's a version of you that has the physical feature that you're saying you wish you had, like in infinity, right? Then all things exist. So if you really want to go down the rabbit hole and not be practical about this at all, then who knows if there is a way that you could shift into a reality where that would be something that could happen. I've yet to hear of anyone who could do that,
Well,
but I don't know.
I mean, like every 7 years, you have a new physical body anyway.
Right.
Right? All of
So,
the cells of your body get replaced.
right. Is it
But
possible that
I
you
mean,
could?
it seems like the answer to that question should be yes. I mean, we're
Right.
constantly growing and changing.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, can I be taller? If I'm 5 foot, can I be 6'9"? No, probably not,
Right.
unless you suddenly develop a pituitary issue of some kind,
Right. Right.
which
Right.
is
So
which would
there's
not
some
be
people that
good.
might be like yes, I did it. Something happened, and I like it wasn't healthy, but I grew. You like there might be somebody who has had something change. So like I will never say blanket yes or no to anything. But then there's another part of me that knows that certain people incarnated in this world in a certain way or design, shape, have you, what have you, because there were certain lessons that needed to be learned experiencing life as that kind of a person. You know what I mean? Like, so someone who is tall has a different life experience, learning different levels of acceptance or validation than someone who is born shorter. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
there's a part of me that would also say that, by design, I believe we came in here for certain reasons based on certain things that we have kind of like developed or acknowledged.
Soul
There,
contracts.
yeah, right, for sure. Um, just like we were talking about, there's a higher self or whatever you would, again, all labels.
Right.
I don't choose your label, but
Work.
there's a higher something that knows what you would need to get through in order to be the thing you want it to be. Um,
Yeah. Why did we come here? Right. I
right,
ask people that all the time. Is this what you came here to be? Is that what you came here to
right.
do? Is that how you know?
That actually is beautiful, and that references something that someone asked you earlier, which is what did they say? They say, oh, like, what's my purpose? How do I find out my purpose, and something like that.
Mm,
And something that really will get your mind, and by mind, I don't even mean your intellect so much. Oh yeah, I kind of do. Out of the way and trying to figuring that out is exactly the question you just asked. Like what do you believe you were born to do? Like if you were the grand designer of you, what using the gifts and talents and skills that you need. You referenced a book. Was it a book or like a something like to find out what they might be the best
oh,
at?
the success principles, Jack
The six,
Canfield. It's in chapter 2.
and you have a video on that too, right?
I have a video on that. Green shirt, life purpose exercise. Yes.
So check out that video, and then using those things that are outlined in there, you might get a little bit more clear on answering the question that Mark was just saying, which is, who do you believe you were born to be? And you can maybe look at some of those things that were outlined from his video and put them together, and say like, okay, I was born to be someone who could help someone do this with these things.
Yeah.
And then the next idea, like the GPS, you just trust that the next part's going to come in. The next part's going to come in. The mind wants it all to be known right now, so I don't stress. But stress, thinking you need to know the whole picture, is a lack of trust and faith in yourself and the universe. So it's
I think
really a
that's
process of
probably the most important point of the whole thing is just let go and just trust.
trust and eternal wonderland.
Just,
And surrendering to it, which,
yeah.
yes, surrendering to it.
All right. The ultimate question I get all the time in our last 9 minutes here.
Yeah.
Last question, probably that we will discuss. Uh, how to manifest the ideal partner. People ask me all the time, how do I get my ex back? And I say, you don't.
Thank you.
Don't. I
Thank you for
mean,
saying that.
why would you want to go back to something you already know is broken? I actually did a video on it. I made it a car lot, right? I did an analogy. You trade in a car and then you take your new car and you go and you're happy for a while with your new car and then something happens to the new car. You need another car. So you go back to the car lot and the guy's like, yeah, I got this great car over here and it's your old
Yeah.
trade-in. Are you going to
Yeah.
go to your old trade-in or are you going to go to the 7 billion other choices, one of which is your perfectly compatible car? Or are you going to
Yep.
go back to, why would you do that, right?
Right.
That's a step backwards. And I know why you would do that. It's ego and my ego is bruised and I got to prove and I got to, win him back over. I am worthy and lovable and, yada, yada. I
I'm
get all that.
gonna
Right.
change
So,
positions for this one
all right.
because this is a tricky one, and I get it often too.
Yeah, don't
And
do that. So I tell people manifesting the perfect partner is just like manifesting a new car or a coffee table or anything else. You just outline what you want in a person. What qualities do you want in that person? How do you want that relationship to be? Envision that perfect relationship and how it's going to be, and let that person come to you.
hmm there's another famous saying, and I also feel like it'll resonate. If you realize that it's not necessary that you get what you want as much as you get who you're being, I feel like that's again the runner chaser, right? to want something versus to desire it, or for it to be the expression of who you are. If you are saying you want something, you're implying you don't have it. Now, again, this is a bit down the rabbit hole, but it is what it is. And I believe it 1 billion% to be true with every cell of my being. And I have so much powerful evidence of me thinking it was another way and realizing that it's not, that I really, really can't speak about it enough. You don't get what you want. There were multiple times when I was going through a breakup or I was giving someone else permission to make me be happy. What that means is that I was not happy on my own. I had not gone through this work. I had not released and healed parts of me. I had not accepted me for me. And I was relying on another person to be the source and responsibility of my happiness. And if this person came in and did this right and did this right, and I could control this, then I was happy. If they didn't, then I was miserable that day. And I took it out on them and pointed the finger, you did this and you did this, and that affected me. And it would absolutely explode. And then that person would leave. And then I would pretend that I had done this work. I could reinvent myself. And I'd be like in a better place, like without this example. And I would attract someone else. And they would make me so happy in the beginning. And I would like, this is amazing. I'm in love, blah, blah, blah. And then my insecurities would start to come up again. And then I would realize that I would be giving them power again to make me feel good. And then it was just exemplifying how much I didn't feel good. And then that would explode. It wasn't until I did the work to realize that I was getting who I was being. And I was being someone who was insecure. I was being someone who was scared. I was being someone who was giving someone else power to make me feel the way that I could make myself feel on my own. Because similar, I was dancing for my grandma too. I was dancing for my mom too. I was dancing for my dad to finally respect me or show me some kind, like, that's what was trying to pull these relationships to me. And then when I would lose one, because my identity and my worth was bound up into the initial response that person gave me, right? Because the rest of the relationship usually wasn't that great when you're manifesting this way, if you're really hung up on an older person, like another person. So I would be like, I got to get this person back. I got to do anything I can. Can I manifest? And here's the question that everyone says, my specific person back. And I don't know that the answer is yes or no. I believe that if someone is so unconscious, like so unconscious that they could be manipulated in some way by manifesting tactics, maybe you could take that object of like lower consciousness and get them back. But ask yourself this: if you left someone because you were not happy with them and not aligning with them, right? And they were sour about it, and you were trying to do your own inner work and do your thing and get your life back together and breaking away from this person that was toxic, and you attracted another person to you that was amazing, and the original person you were with, what if there was some way that that person could do some manifestation technique and get you back to them? Would you want that? Like, so when you call in free will to the idea of manifesting a specific person, you wouldn't want it done to you. So you absolutely don't want to go through any manifestation project to get your specific person back when in this moment it is not aligned with you. There's something inside of this process that's asking you to reveal something that you feel is broken about you and heal that. And then you will be that person who's secure. You'll be that person who's abundant. You'll be that person who loves themselves. And then you will attract someone who is also that.
I tell people exactly the same thing. I turn it around on them. Would you want somebody nasty and creepy that you don't want to be with manifesting you into their life?
Right. Would you want that
And
mechanism to
would you,
exist in
would
the
you
universe?
want that? You know,
No.
and then but there's manifestation teachers out there teaching this stuff to people, and they're just feeding ego is all they're doing, and they're not serving those people at all. But
right. For sure,
I get why the people flock to them, right?
Of course.
It's bread for the pigeons, but. I tell people exactly the same thing. Would you want somebody doing it to you? And work on yourself. As soon as you become, the highest and best version of yourself, and you don't need another person, you become infinitely more attractive, and people will flock to you, and you can have your choice. It's no longer a problem.
For sure. It takes faith, but that's the answer I found.
Yeah. All right. We are in complete alignment, and with our final 3 minutes here, we'll say thank you, everybody, for coming today. We're so grateful for your attendance. So happy that you were all here. Hope we got everybody's questions answered. Hope everybody got a lot of value out of our live today. Maybe we'll get to do some more in the future.
Yeah.
I got a lot of value out of our live
Oh,
today.
I love this.
I
absolutely love this. This is great.
right.
I loved
I
it.
found out I've been pronouncing your name wrong.
Mahan.
Well, I've been saying Mahan.
Yeah, everyone. It's the
Uh,
same. It's fine.
Mahan.
Mahan. Yeah.
Yeah, but my last name is Mayhew, and people call me
Is it? That's
Mahan
great.
all the time. Yeah,
Mayhew, Mahan. It makes
yeah,
sense.
right.
Eternal
All right,
Wonderland. Oh, you're
everybody on
very
my
welcome.
side pouring in thanks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here. 14,700 likes.
8.6K. I'll take it. I'm very grateful for each
Wow.
and every one. I love you.
Wow. That's amazing.
It is. Thank you.
Kudos to you, my brother. All right. Been an amazing day, everybody. We love you all. Thank you for being here.
How do we turn it
Uh,
off?
uh, there's the little power button up there
Oh,
in the
top right?
corner. Yeah, you're gonna touch the power button, and then it'll say, "Do you really want to end your live?" And you say yes. And then, like I said, it'll give you that data. It'll show you who watched you the longest. It'll show you who gave you gifts. I usually do those people the favor of following them back. I figure if they're gonna be, that nice to me, I can return the favor,
Yeah.
right? So that they can message me if they want.
I love it.
So, yeah, thanks. And
Perfect.
thanks to you, my friend, for being here today.
I'm
And
really, really grateful for the opportunity. And
yeah,
again, this was the most fun I've had in so long. I loved every second of this.
I love coming on here, man. It's
Yeah,
so energizing,
it
right?
really is. It's really
Yeah.
fun.
The earlier we were talking about how do you get up out of the funk? I go live.
This is a
That's
great way to do that.
yeah,
Yeah. So many awesome people on here. So
right. So
thank you so much.
maybe we can do this once a month or something.
Oh, I
Yeah,
would love it. I would
that'd
love
be
it.
great.
That'd be so awesome.
All right, we'll
Yep.
chat about that behind the scenes. All right,
Yes,
thanks
sir.
everybody.
Love
Love
you guys.
you. Thanks for being here.
Bye,
Gotta
Mark.
go.